What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We have an exciting show prepared for you today. Really glad to get this one off the ground. So, let me go ahead. I'm already having some technical issues, of course, but let's go ahead and pull up the main page. Oh, well. Boom. There we have it. Welcome one, welcome all. Going to go through the usual course of events with a bit of an unusual debate topic that I'm hoping to get some people in for here for our open panel. It is the true fate debate, the fate of humanity, the end all be all. What is going to happen to us when we die? What is going to happen to the world? What is the true nature of God? All of these things that are way off in speculation station. We're going to go ahead and be getting right into it. Welcome one, welcome all once again. So without further ado, let me go ahead and just do a quick shout out to some of the people in the YouTube and the Rokfin, and got a short little few things we'll go through, and then we'll go ahead and drop the link, open up the panel. But shout out to Big Pine Sailing. Good to see you, my friend. Jeremy Bird. Water World. John, we appreciate you. Space Audits. What is up, my friend? Jason Valencia. All right, that's it for now. Of course, we got our early birds in. I'm sure more people will be piling in. The chat over on YouTube, now on Rokfin. Let's go check it out. John as well. Supported on both platforms. Gotta love it. All right, let's go ahead and get back over then. Perfect. All righty. So today's debate topic, today's topic of conversation is one of great importance, obviously. I think we could even make an argument that it is even more pertinent than the true Earth conversation. Now, I, for one, do prefer the true Earth debate as far as like conspiracies to cover, simply because it's like the master key, in my opinion. It's something that's solid, something that's kind of easy to show people if they're not too brainwashed, and if they can learn to accept it, that they've been lied to. Sorry, I had some reverb on there. If they can learn to accept that they've been lied to, then they can actually see through a lot of the BS that comes our way. For example, the UFO BS, the alien invasion, all that good stuff. A lot of us have even been able to see through germ theory, although there's still some debate on that. Okay. But this is, honestly, I think this is what it's all for. The motivation, if you will. One of the number one questions that we true earthers get asked is, why the lie? And in our opinion, well, in my opinion anyway, one of the big reasons for that is they're hiding the idea of a creator. And that is super important to note. Now, as far as the nature of that creator, I am actually a black sheep in the truther family. Most people that I've seen tend to lean more towards an Abrahamic slash Christian worldview. And I will start off this whole show by saying again, there's no hate here, right? We appreciate you still tuning in, taking what value you can, even if we don't agree on every little thing and on any big thing, that's totally fine. I've always said that the world would be a really boring place if we all had the exact same opinion. So I'm totally cool with that. But one thing that I do find really important is the pursuit of logic and the pursuit of the utility behind each belief. Why is it that we believe what we believe? Is it actually true? Is it justified? And I find that a lot of the times when it comes to Christian theology, that simply isn't the case. Let me go ahead and start. Where do we want to start? Okay. I want to start by bringing up something pretty cool I found, and it was something that I guess it wasn't too shocking for me, but maybe shocking to some Christians. This familiar face that you see here is not Jesus. This here is the god Serapis. Serapis is much like Jesus, though, in a lot of attributes. He's a god of resurrection and transformation. He is noted as a savior who gives his followers eternal life. And he is actually thought to be one of the precursors to Jesus. He's actually a composite of Zeus, Apis, and Osiris, and believed to be crafted by Ptolemy the First. So we actually even pretty much know who created this, the idea of this god. Um, if that kind of gives you any idea of where the rest of the gods may come from. I tend to not believe in any of the words of men, regardless of what book, what faith they come from. But this here is just one of many examples of um, Jesus precursors, you could call it. I'll probably find a better name for that here soon. But in any case, that's not all when it comes to Serapis. Let me see here. Just real quick, I gotta... Should have had it ready. Okay. And it's not ready. And there it is. Okay, perfect. So one of the crazy things about Serapis is that Serapis is actually often depicted, or has been depicted, as an actual serpent. And in some writings, they believe that's actually where the "ser" in serpent comes from. I'm not too sure about that, but I do think it's a pretty odd. It's a pretty odd thing, right? Because Christians are really, really big on no idol worship and no, you only want to worship the true God, right? And I don't think that they understand that some of the imagery that they could be, worshiping in Jesus, if you do, go behind that, is actually linked to other deities, and some of which is actually linked to serpents. Now, as far as like the reason why this guy is depicted as a serpent, no, it's not because he's the Antichrist, um, and it's showing us that he's the serpent. He is Satan. That's actually not true at all. In fact, Satan doesn't even exist in the actual scriptures. Satan is literally just the adversary, and even Yahweh in the Bible puts forth adversaries before people to test them and to change their direction. So, just make sure that you're aware of that. Again, this is regardless of what part of the faith you believe, or any part of it. So here, it's not only the serpent depiction, but there's also like a candle on the top of his head. And what this is supposed to represent, because a lot of the ancient statues and stuff are actually just symbolism depicting other things, and alchemists know this very well. Um, so you have here the serpent, which is actually representative of the serpent energy, or the Kundalini in Eastern philosophy. And then you have the candle, which is supposed to represent the glowing light, the illuminated, um, the illuminated part of what happens when you activate that energy. So this is one of the first depictions of what you would call ascension. It's a Western form of it, though. It's not. It's actually not Eastern, but they are pulling a little bit from Eastern philosophy. So just something really cool to note there. And let me see if I have the other thing. Oh my goodness. All right, getting better at figuring this out. Okay. Boom. All right. Just to kind of nail it home on kind of like the obvious resemblance there. You even have the glowing around the head there, which they've of course replaced the candle. And some depictions even have chakras on the belly of the serpent, which is really cool. So there's an old saying, and I can't remember who does it right off the top of my head, but it basically goes, you have to learn the truth of symbolism or be doomed to ignorance. And that's true of like interpreting religious texts, um, statues, writings on wall, whatever the heck you want to call it, all the old stuff. Hey, we got a support there from Buy Me a Coffee. Let's go ahead and check that out. Let me go ahead and head on over so I can actually read it. I did figure out how to read these. By the way, it's actually quite simple. You just have to actually pull up the Buy Me a Coffee page, which I should have had it already up already. But what are you going to do? Buy Me a Coffee. We are going to read that super chat as promised, interrupting the entire show, folks. I didn't even plug myself this time. I was going to save it for a little bit more into the show. But if you would like to support the show, there are multiple ways to do so. Of course, the best way, the way that not only supports me, but also supports all the other content creators that do truth or like content and more, is going to be subscribing for a paid subscription to Rokfin. It's only $15 a month. It's pretty cheap. And with that, you fund not only my operation, but the operation of Jaronism, Karen B, Mark Sargent, um, Mellow Dome, and many others. So I'm still getting it pulled up. I actually have to make me sign all the way in. That's perfect. Okay. So that is the best way to subscribe. Of course, if you want, you can just support my content with a $5 subscription, but that's completely up to you. Oh my goodness. Okay. Someone just bought me a bunch of coffees. Let's see if we can read it. Okay. We appreciate, just as someone, I'm not going to call out your email just for privacy's sake, but I'm going to say, oh, that's actually, I know that person. That's John. John, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the support. I'm trying to actually get to my page to see the message. No message, huh? I do have one from, no, just bought 5 coffees. Hey, we do definitely appreciate that, John. We appreciate the support. Call for Zero bought a coffee in the previous stream. Hi Tribune, thanks for the stream today. I should add heat resistance, conversation, speculated crystal influence. Um, oh, basically the idea. I should just read it. That's right. The sun. One given is it maintains temp, so constant, stable resistance. Could the motion of the sun through the aether be the heat source? A magnet pushing the sun over the Earth's surface at a constant rate? Crystals, iron. Is this why heavy pollution raises temperatures slightly? These are great questions. It's a little off topic for today's conversation, but we will bring it back up on our next True Earth discussion. I think it was really interesting the information Jaren's bringing forward with the idea of the low hanging. I've dubbed it the celestial shelf instead of the celestial sphere. I think it rings true. Sounds really nice. Rolls off the tongue. So feel free to use that. And this brings me to the second way to support the show. That is going to be at buymeacoffee.com/tribune. With that, you can interrupt the whole kit and caboodle and actually get your message read live here on the air. So we already have 5 supporters, and we are growing fast. So if you would like to join that train, we would really appreciate it. And finally, the other way to support the show is going to be at the Cash App that you see below, Mr. Tribune. Very straightforward. I will also, if I get a Cash App during the show, will read your message live by yours truly. And what greater treat could you imagine for this show than having your comment read? So if you would like to support the show, feel free to do so in that way. We are actually piling up all the donations to buy a new setup so we can have a moving background, more dynamic content. Everything's pretty static right now, but it just makes everything move smoother. So, what are you going to do? But we're working on that very soon. Speaking of, Andrew B., one of my guests that we've had on frequently, is offered to assist me in the process of building a computer. So we are going to have him on for some private and public streams to go through that so that you guys know exactly where your money's going towards while we build this thing. So we definitely appreciate that. All right. So that does it for the Serapis bit. Now, as far as like where some of the information comes from for this, there's a really great book that I recommend you check out called The 16 Saviors. Actually, let me double check that because I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible with the with the names, but I did write it down, or I should say, typed it down. Man, why did everything reset? No worries, folks. I'm pretty sure that's correct. It is going to be the 16 crucified saviors. That's correct. So you can Google that. It has not only Serapis, but many other gods throughout history, supposed history, however you want to see it, that have been have very similar stories to Jesus Christ, and that is pretty interesting. Another thing um, that I wanted to go ahead and go through before opening up the panel is the idea of, and that's something that truthers are really familiar with, is word magic and how words all have significant meanings. Um, which, just so you know, even if you are into Abrahamic beliefs and the Bible beliefs, that is a form of like manifestation. I don't know if you believe in that as well as the Bible, but it's open for discussion for sure. Some people do, some people don't. But I tend to think that the words and what they're used for and what their meanings are very important. And one of the things that I've noticed is that um, one thing that happens throughout history is that whenever a group of people would take over another group of people, it was commonplace for the gods to be demonized. Basically, the gods turn into demons, and the a lot of the words for like the important things get usurped as well. So I'm gonna give an example of a word that I think is really telling. This is from the Wisdom Library. I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen. Where are we at here? Needs just a wee bit of adjusting. 1 second. Okay, that's pretty good. Hopefully that comes through clear enough. You guys can see that. This is going to be the actual word Satan, right? And what that word actually means, besides just the adversary or some horned red dude with a pitchfork in a fiery pit, plotting and whispering plans in evildoers' ears, while accusing them all the time at the right hand of God. Or, sorry, was it the right or left hand? Doesn't matter. Either way, sounds contradictory. Okay, so introduction. Satan means something in Hinduism, Sanskrit, Hindi, if you want to know the exact meaning. Okay, that's just the introduction. Let's just get to the dictionary. Okay, source. This is from the Cologne Digital Sanskrit Dictionaries, Capeller Sanskrit English Dictionary. Satan means to join one's self with, hold together, cover, fill, connect, continue, protract, affect, accomplish, exhibit, events. So it's got a couple meanings in there, but a lot of it has to do with like the idea of connection, right? And the idea of accomplishment. And so this is what the this is like the language of India, and the Sanskrits is one of the oldest languages known to man, supposedly. And that's the meaning that they take from Satan. Now, the meaning that comes way later is adversary, devil wielding pitchfork, etc., etc. So this is another form of word magic that we actually see being done even today, where meanings of words are being changed to have negative meanings or completely opposite meanings. So this is something that we would do well to not only protect against in today so we can preserve our language, but also think about the progression of how language has changed so that we can actually, get more, I can't say a more true meaning, right? That's fallacious, but an older meaning and maybe a more complete understanding of all the words and the motivations behind each evolution. Just some food for thought there. Okay. So without further ado, oh, actually, one last thing. I know One last thing, and this is actually really important. This is another reason why I challenge Bible believers so vehemently. Again, even though there's no hate, I just really believe in the truth and strengthening people's ability to be effective. And so, one of the things I want to cover before we get into this is spiritual practice that is demonized in the Bible. Okay, and this is critical. We're actually starting to see some evidence of the spiritual practice be presented, one of which was on Jaronism's channel. Jaronism had a channel where he was having remote viewers on, make a prediction, try to predict a picture that he had pulled from a random set of pictures. And wouldn't you know, they were able to do it not once, but twice with reasonable accuracy that anybody who I can't even say anything like that because I want to be intellectually honest. That's a fallacious statement in itself, but I would say that I found the evidence pretty compelling that if everything was legit on the up and up, there's no way they should have been able to just guess, draw, even close to what Jaron had picked. But yet it had happened. So I definitely recommend checking out those. You can find them on his channel, particularly over on his Rokfin. Another reason to go ahead and sign up for that. But let's go ahead and take a look at spiritual practice that is demonized in the Bible. Always hitting the wrong button. Okay, we got it. We're going to take a look at Deuteronomy 18, 10, and 11. And this is a little tricky, right? Because it does have something in here that I actually agree with. Let no one be found among you who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire. Amen to that. If you are doing child sacrifice, doing any kind of weird rituals like that, I disavow that. I highly recommend against that. And even though I do recommend practicing spirituality, I don't think that's. I don't really think that that's very good to do. That's not very spiritual. So, in any case, I agree with this first sentence, right? So before all the Christians get up in arms and say, see, it's telling good things, right? Exactly. It does have some good things in there, and I've never said that it didn't. But let's just read on here. The one who practices divination, okay? Divination is simply the art of being able to make predictions of the future or predict something that you don't have firsthand knowledge of. So, unfortunately, Jaron had some sinners on his podcast. Some sinners, some evil divinators who were able to predict what no man should have been able to predict. And they were able to do this with the help of evil spirits. I believe that is the claim of Christians. It is the trick of an evil spirit. And I think that's up for debate. So, no practicing divination. Not only that, but another thing that people should be aware of is that divination can also be in the form of tarot card reading. And so I actually have some tarot cards here. Not that I'm going to do a reading or share that because I think that that's personal, right? I don't want anybody who vehemently disagrees to put their grubby little thoughts on my cards too much. I digress. But yeah, no tarot card readings. No like meditating, trying to like open yourself up to the universe to receive these messages from God. The only thing that you're supposed to do is let these messages come to you from God. That's everything that I've read. And I can't find anything, particularly in the scriptures, that says how you're supposed to receive your messages from God. But it does say right here no divination, or users of magic, or one who interprets omens. Okay, so don't even interpret something bad that's happening, right? Like the canary in the coal mine, right? If you're using the canary to determine the danger level in a coal mine, then you are technically interpreting an omen. I know some people are going to say I'm reaching there, but this is absolutely ridiculous. Who doesn't look at a storm and try to predict something that's going to happen? Now, if you mean to take it in the super far fetched, oh, well, this omen means that the king of this land is going to fall and yada yada yada. I would say the sin there would be lying if you don't have firsthand knowledge. of the situation. I don't think that uh, I don't think that actually telling the future, right? If you actually have that ability, if you had the ability to project your consciousness to a future point and pull that information, why on earth would that be considered evil? Okay. Or a sorcerer. So that sounds a little redundant, right? User of magic and a sorcerer to me is the same thing. And to me, someone who uses magic is simply someone who uses their will to try to change reality, first mentally and then physically by putting action forward. And I don't know a person alive who doesn't do that. If there's a different, more complex meaning of magic mentioned in the Bible, I'm open to conversate on that. So we're going to be posting the link here in just a moment. Okay, one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritist, one who calls upon the dead. Okay, so if you do seances, or if you have the ability to like see spirits, there are people out there who actually do claim to have this ability and have been able to do amazing things with it. In fact, Mind Shock just did a podcast on haunting premiere that was very compelling, going through police reports about things that just seem absolutely impossible, but they have multiple witnesses, and it seems very unlikely that it is just some story. So, numerous accounts of spirits, and apparently communicating with these is just again communicating with some evil spirit. It's the trick of the devil. It's the trick of the enemy. Okay, all right. So that's all we need to cover there. It goes into 12, but we don't need to read that. You guys get the point. These are just basic examples of some spiritual practices demonized in the Bible, that I think is ridiculous. Again, not this first sentence. Good on that. I just didn't want anybody to accuse me to take it out of context, so I did just leave the whole thing in. But there we go. There you have it. So I think that, my personal belief based on personal experiences, things that I've experienced, that you should absolutely learn how to use your astral body. You should learn how to meditate, quiet your mind, and seek answers from God or from the unknown. And I would challenge that anybody who is just sitting around waiting for a message from God, how do you know that it's actually God that's giving you that message if you believe in these evil spirits? It's just something to think about, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking answers. I think the Bible tends to demonize that. They want you to be a pacifist. They want you to turn the other cheek. They want you to obey the authorities of your government. They want you to obey the authorities of your priest. Originally, it was the Levites that they wanted you to obey. And when you came and made your sacrifices, you were to give them a shoulder, a stomach, and something, and another part, can't remember. Some good cuts of meat were to be just theirs for being God's servant, right? So they don't have to farm, they don't have to actually do any labor work. All they have to do is know the book and keep the commandments of the book, right? Which keeps them in line also. So always keep that in mind. Um, I think it's all designed around control and not really designed around allowing humanity to experience the fullest reality that there is, or to know the fate of humanity. So, with that, I do want to go ahead and pull up the panel and get this show underway. I know there are some guests in there that are waiting to join. I made this kick ass, pardon my language, this really cool. I like the artwork of this a lot. This is actually AI generated. If anybody was wondering, but it came out really cool. God's battle with Satan here. It looks like some dude's getting his soul sucked out, but I don't believe that's quite how it happens. Um, let's go ahead and get this pulled up. Alrighty. Can't believe I didn't already have it. That's so funny. Okay. While I'm getting this loaded in, let's go ahead and do one last shout out for the chat here on the YouTube and the Rokfin. We definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. We've got quite a few more people in here. Boo Ranch, Michael Smith, Von Neumann, Big Pine Sailing. I actually agree with you, Big Pine Sailing. Reanimating dead flesh like Dr. Frankenstein, the Ouija boards. That's funny. I ain't trying to curse myself. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be doing like the reanimation and shit like that. And Ouija boards are fake as hell. But simply trying to speak to disembodied beings, I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's actually been one of those things that's been demonized, throughout history. And we actually need to probably not do that so that we can have communion with our ancestors. But that's just, again, my personal opinion. Michael Smith, welcome to the show. Mojo Shop, welcome. KC Industry, dude, you should read The Devil's Pulpit by Reverend Robert Taylor. It's incredible and goes into the origin of Christianity. Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard of that. That'll be a good little read. KC Industry, welcome. Giant over there from TikTok making his way over here to the tube. We also have El Perro, Admiral Dickie Bird. What up? All right. I think that covers it. If I missed anybody, I apologize. But you know that you're loved. Let's check out the Rokfin. Andrew B. Absolutely. The only one over there. Try to join when you get home. Absolutely. This is a great conversation to have. I think it's vital. I think it's absolutely vital that we have it. The fate of humanity depends on it, as they say. Okay. Google Meet. I still have the. Didn't realize I still had that pulled up. Okay. Let's do it. New meeting. Now, y'all need to join quick because it's going to boot me out after like 5 minutes. So when you see this link posted, it's coming here in just a second. I actually need to turn off my... Whoops. Okay, 1 second. Coming in just a moment. Where the heck is it? Okay. There we go. There we are. All right. Let me post it for you. YouTube, there you go. And then Rokfin, here you go. Look forward to having some riveting conversations. And back over to the panel. Whoops. What the heck? Taking forever. All right. We're back. I have to switch off the camera on OBS, switch on the camera onto the Google Meet, and then everything is hunky-dory. But yeah, the link should be posted. You have full access. And I've also maintained the ability to share my screen. So if anything comes up, I'll be able to just flip on over onto another tab and get that for you guys. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. We will have, I'm sure, people just pouring in, chomping at the bit. I always see tons of religious comments in these types of shows. So it's very, very opinionated. Everybody has an opinion on this type of thing. All right, let's see here. This may also be a really short show. If nobody joins, we'll just go ahead and call it a day. Give you guys the info, and just go to bed. Sounds like a good night to me. No worries here. All right. I actually won't be able to check the chat because now it's going to show everybody the chat. So, so funny. Actually, I wonder if I can live experiment. If I switch over to the comment page, I apologize. But let's just try to do this here. Oh, I don't need to close it. Yep, totally changed it. Perfect. We'll just jump on back. No worries. Got some fancy. For those who wondering what I'm drinking today, got some fancy tea with just a little bit of milk, like a dang Brit. I'm actually not British at all, but I drink my tea like one. So, and that's just because I don't want to do too much caffeine. When I start getting hooked on coffee, it gets I get to be really aggravated really fast. So I just don't want to go down that route at all. It's not very good for your health. I recommend everybody, of course, try to stray away from all the sugar, carbs, and of course, terrible, terrible water. Alrighty. Nobody wants to join the show. Absolutely. I guess we all just agree. So, in the meantime, while we wait for somebody, I'll go ahead and give some people some tips on what I think they should be doing to uh, increase their spiritual awareness. I don't see how you can, really argue with some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you, unless, you have something really specific that I just haven't thought of. Hey, I'm open minded like anybody else. Big Pine ain't got no audio or else he'd jump on. No worries. Michael wants to know my first name. Hop on in, my friend. Yeah, no worries. Jump on in, chit chat it up. Um, while we're waiting for him to come on in, I'll just go ahead and let people know one of the basic things that people can be doing is learning how to lucid dream, which is simply the idea of being able to like control your dreams. Now, again, try not to get too up in arms, right? It's not evil to use something that is a part of you, right? To learn something. It's all about intent. We can agree on that. Now, if you intend to do something evil, then yeah, that would be something evil. But again, lucid dreaming has ridiculous benefits to the user. All you do is you expand your awareness. Lucid dreaming is natural. It's something that we all have the ability to do. It's just like in real life, you're aware and sometimes you're not. Well, when you're in dream world, most of the time you're not aware, but sometimes you are. And if you get good, you can increase the amount of time that you are actually aware, and this will allow you to get good insight on a couple things. One is going to be your own mindset, your own mentality. How do you work? How do you think about things, organize things? What's holding you back from making new realizations and new connections that are beneficial to you? These are all things that you can do first and foremost. On top of that, you will gain the ability to. Ooh, did I disconnect? If I disconnected, give me a one in the chat. Alrighty. Lord Byron, welcome to the show, my friend. You're muted, just so you know. Lord Byron, welcome, welcome. While we wait for you to find your microphone, headset, or whatever it is that you're doing, I guess I'll go ahead and finish out. So, when you learn how to lucid dream, you actually learn that you have a body that exists, or an awareness, you could say, that exists outside of your physical flesh and blood body. And it's very, very obvious. I think just about every religion agrees on this part, right? The idea that we have a soul. But I wonder how many people know that you can actually inhabit that soul like fully as a consciousness. So when you're lucid dreaming, that's basically what you are. You're a mass of consciousness that has your consciousness possibly split up into multiple different entities so that you can interact with them, which is kind of what I think is going on here on the grander scale with us and God. But you learn how to move, how to focus your intent. That way you don't basically get scattered to the wind.
There we go. So, do you lucid dream a lot?
Not a lot, but I
Do you hear
have done
me?
it. I have done it quite a bit in the past. Yeah,
Okay, I do it a lot. I've been going out of body since I was a little kid.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't think magic and astrology and all that stuff's evil at all. I definitely think that's basically a gift from the creator. I think it's how this whole place works. It's who we are, and it's our whole purpose here.
Yeah, it's I think it's a big part of that, a big key to what it is that we're supposed to be doing for the grander scale. Do you? I'm wondering if you like subscribe to the idea that everything kind of exists in various degrees, like everything's a bigger or smaller version, or a more simple or more complex version of something that already exists in all forms, like everything's fractaled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely do, and yeah, that's like the type of stuff that you can see firsthand when you're doing like DMT or something. But you can definitely, when you're on DMT, see like physically see the interconnectedness of everything.
Disclaimer: since we are still on YouTube, I'll just go ahead and
Oh, sorry.
no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. I'm just wanting to let everybody know that we definitely don't promote any illegal drugs or any illegal drug activity. Um,
Yeah.
that's not medical advice, legal advice, spiritual advice, financial advice, any kind of advice you want to take. Blah 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 blah. You've been warned. Entertainment purposes, fair use. Okay, I think we covered all the bases.
All right. So, how do you think magic works?
It's very simple, actually. You think it, you focus it, and then excuse me, and then the universe kind of meets you halfway. So assuming you're taking some physical action to it, right? So it starts with a thought. You have a thought of, let's take something simple. I'm hungry. All right. The thought is, I'm hungry. I want to eat something. So I start thinking about ways and specifics of how I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, what time I'm going to eat, like how soon I'm going to be able to do it. All the details get worked out. Um, and then I do it. And it's that simple. And sometimes you don't, and sometimes you're limited, right? It's just whatever's available to you. So the choices are really easy. It's like, okay, I have, um, chicken or beef in the fridge with rice or something else. And it's just really, really simple, right? You got limited choices. So you just go bada bing, bada boom, limited by the environment. But um, basically, again, starts all with the thought and your willingness to how much steps you're willing to take. Typically, the grander things take a bit more steps, take a bit more effort, a bit more thought, and that also takes some pain too. And that's something that people really aren't prepared for. The reason why you have to put in work um, isn't necessarily. It is obviously that you have to put in some work for it, but it's also that there's like a price to everything in reality, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's just the facts of it. So part of the price that you pay for achieving anything is the work that you put in to do it, and sometimes it's harder for others, but it's certainly not easy for anybody. I'll tell you that much. And if it is, their reward is, they got something else that some other way that they're paying for it. That's my opinion.
yeah, yeah. It's when you're talking about the pain too. That's something a lot of people, I think, it's something that's spoken about a decent amount, like in books and stuff, but it's not something people really go into detail about. But using your emotions as like a battery, you
What's
know, because like the idea is you want to align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. But the emotional transmutation, like if you're going to do something like prosperity magic or something, before you even get doing the ritual, you kind of want to tap into that anxiety of a time that you went without something, you know
yeah,
and
that
you can use that to kind of build up energy and then focus on the gratitude of having what you want and everything,
right, and
when you
it's
when you go to execute it.
it's absolutely necessary to do things like that. That way you can get the full pendulum swing. I'm really not sure how else to put it, but energy work is it's not a simple thing. That's for sure. The energy work of it is not simple. It's very, very subtle things that you're dealing with. And I don't say that as like a cop out, like we can't explain it, but subtle as
Yeah,
in you have to really pay attention to feel what's going on, to know what it is that you need to do next or the way that you need to move. And
yeah,
it's very true that everything is working on like ups and downs, ebb and flows, as they say.
yeah.
And so
Just like the year,
exactly. And so it's kind of important to feel out what season it is, for you, and
Yeah,
to make appropriate actions. It says in the Kabbalion that the masters are simply those who use higher laws to supersede lower laws, if that makes sense. So a lower law would be
yeah, yeah,
um, what would be a good example of a lower law? Yeah, a lower law would be you being a slave to your emotion, right? So you get angry at something, right? It's a
yeah,
law. It's a law that you have this emotion, that you get this reaction. But your reaction to it isn't necessarily a law. Your free will is a higher law than the emotion. So you ultimately have control over your actions despite your emotional state. Although some people would disagree, say I have no control. I would say that that's a conscious choice that you've made, even though you don't really realize it.
yeah. It's a muscle. It's harder for some people, for sure. Some people are really reactionary.
Very.
People that have a lot of fire in their chart, or a lot of water in their chart. But yeah, so going back to how I think magic works, I think it works off the same principle as like electricity, magnetism, sound. Like I think it works off the ether, you know. And what I'm trying to say is, so there's like a common quote in the occult community that magic, it's all in the head. You just have no idea how big your head is, you know,
Right,
or
right.
it's all in the mind. You just have no idea how big your mind is,
Because
and
all is
that's
the mind.
kind of true to an extent. But I think because here's the thing: you can create change in someone's life 3,000 miles away without them even knowing who you are. So I feel like for you to create a thought form to create change in someone's life, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 miles away, I think there needs to be a medium for that thought form to transfer through. Does that make sense?
100%. It's actually one of the things that I've thought of is that because, and again, this kind of marriages, one thing that I do is I'll take like the best from everybody and I'll try to figure out how it can all work together. And so when you got the unified aether theory from Ken Wheeler, the
Yeah.
idea that light is aether, right? Because it's wave permeation. So light is aether,
Yeah.
and then matter is high density light, like high energy light, a light of a very, very high frequency. So it becomes solid, which is also how like radiation poisoning works. It's actually just like little light particles that are not really particles, but it's basically matter, like low form matter that just rips through you and destroys you.
Okay.
Um, but in any case, so you have light, right? That comes from the aether. And one of the things that is interesting about the thought of light is if light is something that's only physical, then where does the light come from in your thoughts, in your visions, right? When your eyes are
Oh yeah.
closed and you're thinking about something and you start to see the light form, where does that
Yeah.
light come from? And I think that that light is the aether inside you, and
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're creating a vibration inside of you that slowly works its way out into the rest of reality. And that's why manifestation takes time.
It's so funny when you were talking about that inner light. I started blessing like all my food and water and drink, and I just kind of do like the like I love you, I thank you, I respect you like 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times, and I fill it up with a white golden light while I do it. But sometimes I do it so well, that look when you get like that little green dot in your vision from looking at it like a light bulb or looking at the sun, like and I'm just like looking at like a bowl of oatmeal or something, but I'll still get that effect where I have that little blind spot in the middle of my vision from looking at too bright of a light, even though it was a light that I created with my imagination and my will.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm sure some Christians are like squirming at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, dude, that's the very light of God. It's in all of us. God, it sucks that they were sold such a. I mean, everyone was sold a toxic ideology. Just different people have different toxic ideologies, but it sucks, man. Because there's a lot of really smart truthers out there, and a lot of really smart flat earthers. But the one thing almost all of them are retarded about is spirituality. You know?
yeah, I look at I've said this. I can't remember whose show I said this on, but I look at the actual like spirit of a person to be less to do with morality, although it does play a factor. It's less about that, and it's more just about like the physical muscle of it. All right, so like a push up, right? When you think about like exercise, um,
Yeah.
you know, morality has very little to do with your ability to do a push up, right? And your ability to do a push up, of course, does not reflect your morality in any way, shape, or form. And that's how I see astral projection and lucid dreaming. It has nothing to do with your morality whatsoever. It's simply a tool
No.
that you can use, and it's actually very powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful tools that we have as humans. And because of that, I don't even want to say humans because that's the abomination word. It's just something I'm used to saying. It's something that we have as sentient beings, and they want to take that away at any cost.
Oh yeah,
They
they're
do.
trying really hard with all the chemicals and everything.
They really want to sever that connection with everything that is. And I think they're doing a pretty damn good job of doing it, to tell you the truth. I mean, majority of the population is spiritually inept. I would say I would completely agree with you. Even in the truther
Yeah.
community, a large
Yeah.
majority are pretty inept spiritually. I don't think that they understand how manifestation works, how like the concept of a watered down belief, right, is really important. Like if you believe in something that is contradictory, right, then it's going to weaken the ability of that thought form, right? It's very obvious when you think about it, and yet in Christianity you have a completely contradictory worldview. It goes back and forth, and then they have layers to the deception. As if it wasn't diabolical enough, they do layers to the deception so that you fall back into it. I was guilty of this. I was regular Trinitarian Christian, and then I, you know, basically became atheist because I was like, this is all bullshit. It's got to be bullshit.
Yeah, it happens.
The basic atheist arguments, right? They got me. And then you start looking into the science and stuff, and then I realized that atheism is a religion also, and it's retarded. That literally tries to deny the existence of a creation, and a creator at all possible avenues. So you can't really believe in that and be intellectually honest. So what happens? And then you start to realize, well, there's all these misconceptions and mistranslations about the Bible, and it's very obviously done. In my opinion, it's very obviously done. Like it doesn't take a scholar to realize that there are problems and mistranslations with the modern Bible. So you're meant,
Yeah.
in my opinion, you're meant to find that, and then you fall out of it into atheism, and then they take you on this ride, and then they show you obvious lies and obvious problems with the science, mainstream science, so that you see that, and then you fall out of that, and you go right back into the book that they then try to convince you is 100% accurate and true. It's just been lied about a little bit. It's a perfect it's a perfect bluff to get people into blind subservience, and they think that they're doing the right thing because a lot of the commandments actually are pretty good. Like basically basically when you look at what it commands you to do, you're supposed to live with your family, gather with the other people in your culture for meals at specific times in the year, and then you're supposed to sacrifice animals and eat them every so often for your sin offering. Like it's really not a whole lot, but it's a control mechanism. It's a matrix. If you're only doing this, you are not building new societies. You are not fighting an enemy that needs to be fought. You're not doing any of these things, and it does tell you in the Bible, especially in the one that I have. Again, I use the ISR right here because it is a transliteration, so it doesn't, it avoids a ton of the translation issues right off rip. I don't have to do a whole bunch of searching in to figure out like the Hebrew translation because it already did it. Um, and you'll find out that, man, it's worse. The reason why they had to change the translation and change the meaning of the book is because it was even worse back in the day. It was brutal, and they literally did tell you to kill people who didn't believe in your culture, especially once they submitted themselves to your camp. Basically, like, you have a wanderer, you have a stranger that comes in, you show them the ways of Yah, and they're like, "Yeah, I like this. I think I'm gonna do it." They chop their foreskin off. That I've heard there's some contention on that. Um, but in any case, they do whatever it is they got to do. They bend the knee. They start obeying the Israelite laws, and then one day they decide, well, maybe I was wrong about this. Maybe there is more to life than this. And then now they're put to death because they're preaching it's apostasy. And there is it's just like in the Islamic faith, there is no
Yeah.
apostasy allowed in Israel. So I would challenge anybody who's listening to this right now. I'm open to correction. If I'm wrong on any part of this, please come into the box and offer your 2 cents.
So, have you ever heard of radionics?
It sounds really familiar.
You've probably heard of like Royal Raymond Rife and the Rife technology, Rife machine.
Yes.
The oscillatory metallicity rate and all that. Well, radionics is basically a form of that. Well, that's a form of radionics, and it first came out in like 1915 or so, and a doctor invented it, and then he immediately started being able to like diagnose people and treat people with it, and then within like a few years, there was like 30 or 40,000 doctors in America using this stuff. And the FDA found out about it, threw them all in prison, confiscated all the machines, and destroyed them. And like a lot of these doctors died in prison. It really wasn't cool. But then later on, people started using it for agriculture in like the 50s or something, 60s. After this one rocket scientist put out mind machines you can build. That's definitely a book you want to check out. It's a really cheap book too, but mind machines you can build. So they were using it for agriculture, and they started using it to like get rid of pests in crops. And they would put a can of pesticide on the input plate, and on the output plate they would put a picture of the field, and they would dial their rate and get rid of all the insects. But then they realized that they didn't actually need a can of pesticide to do it. All they needed was a picture of the can of pesticide to do it. And then it kind of, I think it was like in the 80s or 90s, this one ceremonial magician got a hold of it, the technology, and he was kind of the guy that's credited for like weaponizing it. And he's kind of hated in the a lot of the radionics community because of it. But it's really far out technology. You can do some really cool stuff with it.
Yeah, it sounds dope, man. You said it was called the Rife machine. For anybody who wants to do more with that, that is the Rife machine. That sounds sick as hell. So my question for you, Lord Byron, I love that name, by the way. It sounds like
Yeah.
authoritative. Like we could really trust anything that you have to say at face value. Um, with that being said, what do you think happens ultimately when a person dies? Like, what is the
Dude,
fate?
I'm so glad you asked that, man. So I had this dream back when I was like 4 years old, man. I was like maybe even 3 or something. It's like the oldest dream that I remember. And I was driving in a car in the dream. It was like like a late 70s model car. And I got into a car wreck, and I was beat up real bad. I was in a lot of pain. I knew I wasn't going to make it. And then like I think I even like asked the creator, to just take me now. But anyway, I got the white golden light washed everywhere, and then the next thing you know, like I'm just a spirit at this point, like I don't have two hemispheres of my brain. I'm not looking through two eyes. I just have like one center focus of vision. And I'm in this corridor, and there's this giant blinding light everywhere, super bright blinding light. It's like really imposing. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go in there or not, or what was going to happen. And then I turn around and there is like this dim light really far away. And I was like, well, what's down there, you know? And so I went to kind of creep over there to see what would be over there. And then I just totally got sucked in there. And then I told myself, you know, don't fucking forget this time. And then I woke up and I'm like, forget what? Damn it. You know? But if I was to take a guess on that dream, if there's anything truth in that dream, which I think there is, uh, I would assume that the really bright light that's really imposing takes you back to source, and then the really dim light that's a little bit further away is like the reincarnation trap.
So let me ask you this then. This we can get into. This is a good conversation to get into. So you mentioned like going back to source or going back to the reincarnation. You refer to it as a trap, right? So when you go back to source, what do you think happens?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I think I'm gonna try to do it this time. But the thing is like your memory wipe happens like right away. When I was in that kind of area where there's those two lights and everything, I went to like what did I do last time? And I try to like remember like retrace my steps and go back to my life, and I already forgot who I was when I died. I mean the mind wipe happens really fast.
Right? I mean, it doesn't always happen though. I think that I'll give you my opinion now that you've given me yours,
Yeah.
and I think that you're close. I think that we have very similar thoughts on what happens, but I have a different connotation on what this is versus what going back to source is. So I think that there is a huge push in the occult works and in mainstream everything to rejoin with God or rejoin with source. I think that's in every religion ultimately to rejoin with source.
Yeah.
And when you rejoin with source, right, if you think about it, the only thing that really can happen is you get recycled into the great being, right? The thing that makes you you is completely gone, obviously. And you become some people think you get recycled as like light, maybe as energy. Doesn't really matter. The point is that you're gone. In my point of view, and in what a lot of people think also is that like yeah, you would be gone, but you would still be in like eternal bliss, like being with the source, with the creator. And I don't even know that because I mean, if the source is outside of time, then it's like just a blink, right? So time is meaningless. It's eternal. So that means nothing. You basically have your memory card wiped, and then there's the reincarnation trap. Now, some people believe that you get your memory wiped no matter what, and I don't think so. I think the memory wipe happens as when you come back anyway, as a result of your lack of training in that muscle. So, and I know this actually to not with death anyway, but with lucid dreaming and astral projection, I know that to be the case. If you practice, in fact, part of the side effects of lucid dreaming is that you're remembering your dreams. So you'll start, in fact, that's what happens first. You start getting
Yeah.
really clear recollection of your dreams, and you're able to recall them, and even years after, it's like it happened as a regular part of your life. You're able to recall it. But when you're not trained, you can't do that. So what I think happens is that a majority of people don't practice lucid dreaming, don't practice astral projection. So when they die, they don't have any muscle memory. They're just kind of unconscious, wandering, and they get either, and it doesn't really matter, they either get recycled back into source, or they get into the reincarnation trap with no recollection of who they are. So what you said is right on the money, right, for most people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but there's a third option, I believe, and this is where the
I was
contention
wondering
comes in.
about this too, but go ahead.
This is where the huge contention comes in, and where people may try to say like I'm a Satan worshiper or something like that just for even saying something like this. But what I tend to think is that, and the reason why the religions are orchestrated the way they are is because again they don't want us practicing this because there's something there, right? It's not
Yeah, they want all the
just
power for themselves.
it's not just the ability to manifest. It's what happens to you after you die. So if you practice it and you start to be able to maintain memory right when through your sleep, which is a whole different type of memory, when you practice that and you get really really good at it, then it's basically like death, right? You've experienced death multiple times in your sleep. And that's actually, I can't remember what book mentions that, but I think that's an Egyptian writing too, that like that's how you master death, is to experience it multiple times like anything. So we're given an opportunity here in this life to master death, and we either do or we don't. And if you don't, you just become nothing because your memory card gets reset, right? And maybe you can remember stuff eventually, if you got reincarnated and not recycled back in a source. But if you get recycled back in a source, I think that's ultimate soul suicide. And that's why it's pushed so hard by the elite, because they don't want anybody gathering soul power generation after generation and then being able to challenge them, because I think that's what they do. I think that they come back over and over again. Maybe they skip a generation or two and come back, and then they continue where they left off, which is why they're able to keep the plan going. Um, that's just one, again, my opinion, speculation station. But I think that the third option is that you can gain enough muscle memory to maintain your ego, so to speak, to maintain you,
Yeah.
and that way, when you don't have to come back. Maybe there's a whole area, space that you can exist in outside, the astral space that we exist in when we're doing astral projection and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can chill there when you're dead, but you can also choose to come back. And then there are examples of crystal children and things like that, people who supposedly maintain memory of a previous life. So um, I think that that's what we're supposed to do. That we're supposed to practice it, and yeah, if not, tough titties, right? You just become nothing.
Yeah. Do you fly in your dreams?
Oh yeah, dude. It's like one of the first things I do. As soon as I realize I'm lucid dreaming, I'm taking off.
Same here. Same here. You know what I'll do too? Just because sometimes you're not sure if you're dreaming when you're first realizing you're dreaming. I'll check my watch to see what time it is. So it works both ways because I don't actually wear a watch, you know. But when I look at my watch and I can't see what time it is, then I know I'm dreaming and I start flying.
That's awesome.
But it works both ways because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't wear a watch,
Yeah, that
you
trigger
know.
moment. Everybody needs that trigger moment. That's one of the
Yeah.
other things, that when you're learning how to lucid dream, if you're really wanting to do it and you're having trouble, sometimes your mind will create traumatizing things to like trigger you to like, hey,
Yeah.
this has to be
Totally.
like, for
Like if
me.
you fall down or you're about ready to die, you kind of like wake up and you're lucid dreaming.
Oh, bro, for me it was being chased by Hollywood Tyrannosaurus Rex, fake as fuck, man. They're fake as hell. They don't exist like that. I'm almost certain of it. But I was shown those when I was like 3 and 4 years old, Jurassic Park, and so it's like embedded in my childhood memory as like a deep seated fear. So when I'm like in my dream, I just will start getting approached by a freaking giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, and that's definitely gonna eat me. Um, and that
That's hilarious.
what I ended up doing one time, well, how I ended up breaking free of it, was I realized right then that, oh my goodness, T Rexes aren't real. Like, they aren't real. They don't
That's
exist.
fun.
So this has to be a dream. And I just turned around and sat down and started meditating right in the dream, and then things got really crazy. But that's a
Do you
conversation
know
for
how to
another time.
levitate objects, like how to like levitate cars and stuff?
In dreams?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can do any. I can literally do anything in a dream.
Okay. Well, for
I can do
anyone who's out there
anything.
listening, it's basically the same muscle as flying. You're just externalizing it, you know. But
It's just focus. It's literally
how,
just focus.
how about underwater? You ever go underwater?
I have not. Well, yes, I have actually. I
Dude,
have. Not like a diving adventure, but there was one
yeah.
lucid dream I had where I was about to go lucid. I wasn't lucid yet, but a T Rex was chasing me, and I dived off a cliff into some water. And when I came up out of the water, I had made a whole city instead of that jungle. So um, that's about as close as I've gotten to that.
Yeah, underwater is weird because because you still think you're drowning, you know, like when it's the same muscle as flying. You're basically flying underwater. You're not really swimming, but it's just hard to breathe, man. It's hard to explain, but it's just hard to breathe.
Right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to take one moment to post the link again in the chat. I hear some echo though. I don't know if that's like a echo or if
Is
that's.
that me? I'll go grab my headphones real quick.
Yeah, I appreciate it. While he's doing that, gives me an opportunity to post this in the chat. You guys will probably see it, but hey, whatever. While I'm in here, Adrian Quintana, welcome to the show. That's the new one on Rokfin. And then we got lots happening over on YouTube. All right. No,
Is there still an echo?
yeah, there's a little bit. It's like a wobble. Is that me? Hold on. No, it's not me. Okay. Let's get back to the main page. Ah, everybody's seeing everything. That's so funny. All right. Back to the meat. Perfect. All right, folks, the lines are open. We have Lord Byron with us, chatting about spirituality. This is the true fate debate. If there is any people of any religious denomination that want to come on in and chat it up, feel free. We don't bite, we don't hate, um, but we do have strong opinions, so it's bound to be fun. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Do you hear it?
figure it out. It's my first time ever like calling in. No, I don't hear it at all. But I had the feeling there was an echo because I could see you like trying to hear me. Like throwing it. All right.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if muting you helps. Just for a second. Yeah, I think that it's. Oh, yep. Yeah, it's got to be your mic or something.
Well, I'm on my phone.
Or like as like a. I don't even know how to describe it. Like regular telephone.
Cell phone.
Like you're on the phone, like talking like that. You're not looking at the screen.
I'm looking at the screen.
Okay. I don't know what the hell to tell you.
Yeah, it's.
All right. So the next question I'd have for you then would be the other part of the true fate debate, right? So I got a good sense of what you think when what happens to us after we die. What do you think is like the fate of the world in general? Do you think there's going to be a type of like apocalypse, a type of mass rejoining with source, or anything world ending or world changing?
I don't know. You know, um, it's something I think about all the time. And like I don't know if people are meant to wake up. The NPCs and everything. Like because everyone has this thing where they want to eliminate suffering in the world. Like everyone wants to eliminate suffering in the world, and I just don't think that's what this place is. I think the suffering. So I had this. When I was a little kid, my very first memory was getting bit by a gerbil on my finger, and he took a big chunk out, and I was bleeding all over the place. But I was in a completely unconscious state of mind until that gerbil bit me. Because I was a little kid. And I kind of just think on a bigger scale, that's what this place is.
Dude, you're 100% right about that, and I think that's another part of the huge problem with a lot of religious beliefs is that they seek to isolate and eliminate evil, as if it's some byproduct, or something that can even be isolated and eliminated. And the truth is that it's just it's an integral part of reality, and it has a function that is inadmissible, right? The function of pain and negativity is to educate, is to teach. You learn, that old saying, there's one lesson in victory but 1,000 in defeat.
Yeah.
It's that same concept, but with uh with everything, right? And so people will see these negative things that happen, and they'll say, "Oh, um, this, we got to let evil be evil, or it's Satan, or it's some entity," and they're not really trying to learn the lesson and responsibility of what actually happened and what was their part in it. And it's just something that, if you understand that the evil is supposed to teach you that it's just an educating thing, then you really stop seeing it as evil. You start seeing it as another force of nature, if you will.
Yeah. Uh, like there's a lot of weird stuff about the nature of like what people call demons or daemons or whatever. And because a lot of people think of like the fallen angels and all that stuff, but the actual phenomenon that I think we pretty much call demons, like a real demon, like not just like a character in a book, is whenever like a horrible like trauma or a lot of like energy puts out, like a lot of suffering, like a mental ward or like a prison or a battlefield, that they're become like kind of magnetized for that kind of energy, that chaotic energy, and then that energy starts kind of taking a mind of its own, and it starts collecting more chaos and more suffering, and then eventually it kind of starts developing like a personality and starts learning like language and starts possessing people, and they only have like one real objective, and it's to be more tangible after they're created, you know,
That's the
and
same. I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit, and you stop the racism with the light and dark, right? Because the truth is that that's also true of the positive side of the aspect. It also seeks to have a snowball effect to spread. Um, let's take the idea of the truth movement, right? I mean, even though we're being attacked and that we have, certain things happening, certain ideas, meant to divide, um, even though that is the case, the overall spirit of truth and wanting to be honest and spread to reach the people is a positive one, and it
yeah,
literally acts the same way as negative does. It starts off as an idea. It's just manifestation, right? It just starts off as an idea. It snowballs as it tries to acquire more attention and will, and then, I mean, yeah, I think that it's true that at a certain point, certain things can get strong enough to take on a will of its own, but it's not really its will; it's the will of everything that went into it.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy when you start breaking down this place and what it is and how it works. Because like one thing about this realm is it's interactive. When you're talking about omens and stuff, the it you, like it communicates with you on a very intimate level, and most people are too blind and dumb to pick up on it. But it does. Like you always get these omens. You always see these signs everywhere. Like this place is interactive, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where you find the right piece of information at the right time when you need it.
Every
Like
time.
when you're like researching conspiracies and stuff, you always find like that next breakthrough, like right when you're looking for, like right when you're ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right on the money.
But
That's also has a lot to do with like synchronicity,
yeah,
and again, the way that when you start thinking and trying to bring something into existence, the universe kind of meets you halfway. And to touch on the thing that you said, excuse me, to touch on the thing that you said before about emotion as a driving force, it's not that emotion can be a driving force. It's that emotion is the driving force. There's no can
yeah,
about it. It is the driving force. As they say, emotion is the fuel, and imagination is the steering wheel. So you use your imagination to guide where you want to go, and you use your emotion to actually drive you there. That's why if you're not really passionate about something, if you're just kind of, it's just like blah, I don't really care about it too much, then the universe is going to meet you with that attitude. Like, it's not really going to care to give you what you want. Like, you might get
the
it,
uh,
you might not.
the imagination is like the most powerful thing on the planet. Are you familiar with like the 80-20 law? How like you'll get like 80% of the gain from 20% of the work. You know, like a business will get 80% of its revenue from 20% of their customers.
Right.
The 80-20 law. I think the imagination is sort of like that, you know, where I think like meditation, visualization, and directing energy, like in terms of like magic, will take you probably over 80% of the distance, you know, like that. Just focus on those three things will take you so far.
Oh yeah, but you have to you have to do some physical work to it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
nothing is gonna happen at all. I don't want to bullshit anybody out there if you're thinking that this self help channel that's telling you that you could just wish it, want it, do it. That's actually not the case. The universe is actually going to test you a little bit too, or God's going to test you a little bit. It's going to see if you really want it. So it's going to offer just a little bit of resistance when you're going into something. And if you overcome that resistance, then you're going to start seeing some blessings with it. And usually the greater the resistance that you overcome, which is why that pain, right, that price that we talked about earlier, the more you pay, the more you gain. And that's not even that hard to understand. It's just an obvious metaphysical law that we've seen our entire lives.
You know, like the law of attraction, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And one of the main ones is this whole like avoiding negativity, you know, because
Right.
you know, there's all these people that just like they won't even look at conspiracies because it's so negative, you know. And the thing is like what you resist will persist. It's like what you run away from, the universe will put it right in front of your face over and over and over again until you deal with it. And so here's the thing with relationships too, you know, like the people that you hook up with, like your long-term relationship, like your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, they're always like the part of your brain, the part of yourself that you rejected the most, you know. And it's like the universe's way of putting it in front of you, forcing you to deal with these problems, you know.
It's interesting. I haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah, and you know, because there's a lot of dysfunctional relationships out there, and you know, like with me, my girlfriend represents like my emotions that I because she's a Pisces, you know, she's like a big ball of emotion.
Oh my goodness. The
No.
duality of Pisces is intense.
Yeah. You know, like something else that people don't really talk about too is like when you're talking about astrology, is the difference between like a man zodiac sign and a female zodiac sign. Like a male Pisces is not even close to the same type of person as a female Pisces. They're completely different. And that's something you're never going to read in a book, you know?
Right. Absolutely. They're not completely different, but they do represent different aspects of the spectrum of the Pisces, and that's
Well,
with any zodiac sign. You know, you have the hold on. Talk up to
Well, male Pisces are usually really manipulative. And I think because, you know, men want to like change the world around them. They want to build a fence. They want to, you know, build a new deck for their house. And when you're that empathic and you're that in tune with emotions, and at the same time you have that driving masculine force, I think a lot of male Pisces have that thing where they become really manipulative. And it's like, it's almost like every male Pisces I've ever met was super manipulative, but the women aren't like that at all almost.
Hmm.
Some of them are.
Z Warrior, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Troubling. How's my audio?
Audio's perfect.
Hey, I'm going to try to, can I come back in? I want to try to fix the echo.
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
Lord Byron, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Z Warrior. I'm not sure how much of the show you got to catch, but we're doing the true fate debate, man. We're talking all about what mankind's fate is, what happens after we die, is there an apocalypse, what is the nature of God? What are your thoughts, my friend?
Wow, that's quite a topic.
It's a
Holy
mammoth.
mackerel.
It's a mammoth.
Yeah, I read that. It's kind of. I'm getting some feedback from Lord Byron. I don't know if you're hearing
me
it.
too.
Am I still on? Sorry.
Yeah, that's
There we
better. Yeah, man. Where do I start with that? Yeah, I read the topic. That's why I tapped in. This is such an interesting topic for so many reasons, dude. You know, I was just thinking. You know, what came to mind. I've been thinking of it today. Speaking about it last night was what I conceive of as the near-death experience. I took some time in my life where I was way into it, so I did a lot of research into it, and we find with the near-death experience that there's commonalities across all cultures, genders, nationalities, time periods. There's a specific process with this near-death experience that, to me, gives me a bit of an insight into what may happen after we die, for what it's worth. And the commonality seems to be this life review process. That seems to be the main commonality. The proverbial your life flashes before your eyes, right? But there seems to be a particular type of experience that these people have, is where you experience your life review from 3 separate perspectives. So as you're reviewing your life, you experience it through your own eyes, basically your own perspective. You relive your life from like a point of view lens, so to speak. At the same time, you review your life through the eyes and perspective of all the people that you've ever interacted with. So you're seeing yourself through their eyes, their experiences, their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, right? And at the same time, you experience it from a third, let's call it an objective, disjointed perspective. I call it God's perspective, whatever that is. So, and apparently all happens at once. So you kind of get this experience. So a lot of people hear the life review, but it seems to be much more in depth than just your life flashes before your eyes. And that seems to be demonstrable. This seems to be commonality across the near-death experience. So I conjecture that based off this experience, once you've reviewed your life from those 3 perspectives, your own, everyone else around you, and a third-party God perspective, I think the judgment is you judge yourself, and then you decide where you go or whatever. So there is a judgment, but it's you experiencing it from all those perspectives. I'm just conjecturing that. That's something maybe I would like to believe. I could romanticize that thought, but it occurred to me that that's possible given the particulars of this life review.
So let me riddle you this then. It's not really a riddle, but just kind of like something to think about. If everything comes from source, and basically source is all powerful, or all that is ultimately, right? Then nothing can happen. No thought, no will, no intent can exist without it being that being's will, without it being its existence, right? So when you say that, it's almost like we're judging ourselves, in my opinion, there's no other way that it can be, because we're fractals of that God entity, of that being. And the objective mindset something really interesting too, because that's something that that's a mindset that I've actually experienced myself. I remember very clearly what it felt like to be in this headspace, and it was during a lucid dream. And I had realized basically that my psyche had divided itself into every person that was in my dream, possibly every little thing. I don't know. I wasn't like reading at that particular point in time. In my dreams, I wasn't, because you can actually like find labels and things like that and read them, and they'll also tell you things that are pretty cool. But at this time, uh, sorry, I just lost my train of thought completely. Lucid
About your
dreaming.
lucid dream and experiencing different perspectives of others simultaneously.
Ah, that's right. So I'm basically realizing that in order for me to gain some insight on the way that my head works, on the way that my mentality works, my psyche had split itself into all these different pieces, and left me with the objective God mind, I guess you could call it, because I wasn't able to get worked up. I wasn't able to get angry, uh, upset, or but the other part of it is happy. You're not able to be like happy or anything like that either. It's just pure logos is the best way I can put it. It's pure logos. And because of this experience, though, this is kind of what leads me to believe that this is what's going on with the higher mind that's above us, with God, that we are split aspects of its ego, of its being, and that it is manifested through all of us so that it can have this experience to learn about itself.
Well, yeah, man. I can conceive of this realm as existing. I see consciousness as the overarching reality. I always say that, where we have this idea of, evolution, that we evolved over billions of years, and at some point our brains developed to a certain point that we developed consciousness. Like, so we're kind of taught, or in some way, at least implicitly, that consciousness is a product of, the physical. We developed consciousness. But to me, that's a complete inversion. It's quite likely that consciousness is the overarching reality, and that our physical bodies are an expression of that consciousness. Probably a lower dimension. When I say lower, like a lower frequency dimension, right? Third dimension, 3D, whatever you want to call it.
They say, not to get you off topic, but people say that maybe we're in the lower dimension, but I disagree. I think that we're in the higher one, because the way that I see matter is that I see matter as being high frequency light. So in order for things to get to the point that they can manifest as physically as they do now, is by being a high enough frequency to give the ambience of something solid. It's the lower frequencies that are fluid.
See, I conjecture it as lower because I see that there is a light that exists, probably. Sometimes I just refer to it as ether, potentially, but whatever that light is, to me, it's a light that's not like the electromagnetic visual band light that we define as light, but more of a light that, you can stare at. It doesn't burn. And I almost think sometimes that this realm is a product of that light interacting with consciousness, creating a resistance, and then that resistance expressing itself as the energy that we see as this realm. Similar but different. It's possible that this realm could be analogous to your chakra system, and they say we have 7 chakras, but some say we have 12 or 13, actually, if you actually investigate it, which may correlate to the 12 or 13 dimensions, and that maybe we do exist on the heart chakra. Maybe the heart chakra that we can conceive of is analogous to this earth. Many people here listening know the earth-heart anagram analogy, earth and heart anagram. I'm sure that's not a new concept for many of us here. Maybe it's possible that whatever this realm is coincides with the heart chakra realm, and you can look at the chakras as analogous to the, ascending through the different dimensions of enlightenment, through the crown chakra and above.
Well, yeah, you get to the man, you just opened up the can of worms, right? Because I tend to believe that we're in the plane of inertia and the plane of inversion, which means that you know how they have as above, so below. When you go into hollow Earth or inner Earth theory, you have the group of people that think that because they think that Earth is a ball, that there's this like inner cavity of the Earth that things are living in. But I don't think that's true at all. I think what it literally is you can go into the Earth and then come out the other side, and then that is a whole another plane, and that's what people have been calling the quote inner world, just because they have this idea that it has to be inside and that it can't literally just be the opposite, the reverse, the inversion of the place that we already are. And again, if you know about the heart chakra, about the way that it's depicted, it's an inverted symbol, and it goes both ways. Basically, you have like two V's on top of each other, going opposite ways to direct the energy to completely different ways. And it's the only place in the body that has a chakra center like that, for this inversion, for this flip of energies, if you will. Excuse Excuse me.
Interesting point. Well, look at the Star of Remfram, or what we look at as the common Israeli flag, or it's the same type of thing, man. It's the similar concept. I do. What do you say it? Enjoy. I won't say I've subscribed to that model, but to me, the model's valid of this inertial plane with a completely another world on the other side of it. I haven't studied like the Zohar and the Kabbalah traditions, but I had a conversation with a rabbi once, and he mentioned to me that in the Zohar or one of the other Kabbalic texts, they talk of the people on the other side of the plane. I haven't verified it. I'm just telling a story that he told me.
We'd have to look into if it's from the Zohar, we'd look into the Zoroastrianism. I can't pronounce that right. Or then we can also look in the what was the other thing that he mentioned?
What did I say? I said I said the Kabbalah basically, and yeah, Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the tradition. I don't know what the sacred books are called. I think one is the Zohar, but the Kabbalic tradition. The more Babylonian, less Levitical, more Babylonian Jewish traditions.
The one that gets demonized and bastardized a whole bunch.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I conceive of either like Midgard or Asgard, these Norse and Nordic traditions of heaven, as potentially the other side of the plane or different levels. So if we conjecture that the North Pole, so to speak, or under the North Star is the center of this realm, seems to be, can we conceive of layers of heaven there? We have the Aurora Borealis, we call the Northern Lights. They tell us it's some kind of reaction of noble gases. To me, it seems more likely to be plasmatic than anything. If we are to conceive that there is some type of toroidal vortex, again, these are models. Let's go with it. Could that be the tree of life through the center, right? And the as above, so below. Could the Nordics have known? They talked about the Rainbow Bridge. You follow the Rainbow Bridge to Asgard and Valhalla. Was the Rainbow Bridge the Northern Lights? Were they following them to the north? Whether or not there's a Mount Meru or some kind of lodestone there, or if indeed there's access to the other side of the plane or even higher realms. Could it be the North Star? Polaris is the seat of God.
Well, the Rainbow Bridge, I tend to take that to mean a metaphor for the chakra system, because the chakras are all the colors of the rainbow. And when you ascend through that and activate the serpent energy, then you can, again, that's all part of mastering your astral body. Now, in my opinion, though, and this is opinion, of course, but actually, it's not opinion. You don't need to charge chakras to be able to astral project at all. Actually, the whole Monroe Institute verified that with doing their own studies. You pretty much only need to master the raw mechanics of, I'd call it lucid dreaming, because astral projection has the exact same mechanics. It's just in one, you're in a dream space that you're creating as you go, and in the other, you're in the real physical world, pulling information that you're not otherwise able to have. And this is something that I've actually done myself personally. I've verified that, at least to myself, that it is real, and that we do have a spirit body that can exist separate from the flesh body, which gives me tons of comfort, because that's one of the proofs to me that we do have a soul, and that there is some form of life after death. Lord Byron, you're on here twice, just so you know.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on, I'll kick the muted one.
Well, as you're doing that, it's troubling.
Yeah. But is there any echo?
No, you're good. Perfect audio.
Right.
Well, when I investigate the, let's say, the alchemists, the hermetic principles, and all that stuff, there seems to be three states of existence in this realm, in this reality. There seems to be the prima material, which is the realm that we basically are presented with. And then we have the ethereal and then the astral. And these seem to have been known through man. This is probably was occulted in some way and hidden from us. The astral realm and the ethereal realm seem to be something that was, quite accessible. Is it possible that whatever this controlled structure is, electromagnetic, psychic, spiritual, and otherwise, has limited our natural abilities to tap into these other realms that were supposed to be just as natural as this prima material realm?
Do you have any kids, Z Warrior?
No.
I can tell you from experience with my children that there is a very strong possibility that being able to access these other realms is just the natural state. It's just the natural. We are used to just always be able to do it, and it's through generational brainwashing and poisoning that they've removed this ability from us. One of the ways that I'm able to tell this is that my children know before my dogs know when I'm gonna be home from work from my slave
Wow,
job.
before the dogs.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Now my dogs are pretty good. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but
That's why that was the emphasis of it. Like wow.
and I have a varying schedule, so I don't work something consistent at all. So it was pretty weird. And not only that, but they're really good with emotional room reading. Like
Right.
they know if something is if something positive or negative is going on. They have a really good grasp of, I won't say like details or anything like that, but like they can. Man, it feels weird saying it because like how can you tell the emotion of a child? And it's like it's my child. I don't know how else to explain it. I know how my child's feeling. But yeah, they're like mirrors, and they can literally reflect energy like nothing. So that's when psychiatrists and I've heard Jordan Peterson's particularly say this is like when you have a child, you have to basically act like you're a loaded gun all the time. That you have the potential to be dangerous because anything that you do can leave a lasting effect that you don't, you may not intend. And that's very, very true. And it's even more true when you think about that. And this is kind of like goes into like the whole God mind, right? Like where you can't hide thoughts and intentions in the astral world. That's why I laugh at people who say that spirits are deceiving them. It's like you have no idea how things work in the astral world. And you're going to assert that something even has the ability to lie to you. But that's my 2 cents.
Right, because if you are in that pure energetic state, so to speak, and our emotions seem to be some type of energy manifestation, whatever emotion, thought, it's probably just sensed. Let me ask you this then, dude. What's your idea of spirit journeys? Whether it's through entheogens, plant medicines, etc. Do you think that's a different realm? Do you think it's more astral, ethereal?
So astral and ethereal, you'll have to define them so I know the difference. But to me, it's more of this. It's more of like a mental, as in there's the what most people call the astral realm. It's the area where your spirit, but you have complete control with your mind, right? You can think things, and you'll go wherever you think. You'll generate whatever you think about. If you want to manifest something, you can create it right then and there. Um, but then there's also the causation realm that's beyond that. And this is where I kind of take the seat of we're not in complete control. We are at some level slaves to higher laws. And basically, all I'm saying is that there are flows from higher sources of emotion and intent that flow into us from from what I call the causal realm. So That's what I like. In this realm, you do not have control in. You're like, best way I can describe it, DMT trip to the max. You're maxed out DMT trip. You do not have any control. You are just on a ride. Versus kind of a lower level trip where you do have some semblance of control. Like you can think, you can move around, you can do whatever basically.
So going back where you were talking about the
Interesting.
entheogens, I definitely think what you experience on DMT is real. Like, I mean, you're definitely hallucinating, but I think a lot of those like entities you come in contact with and a lot of the stuff that you're being shown, I think a lot of it is real.
I agree. I think
Right.
I also think they're important. Just to kind of give you my opinion on them, I think spirit journeys are really, really, really freaking important, and I think that you don't not the taking medicine part to do it, but just doing it. I think that you
Yeah.
have to analyze, and you have to at some point in your life take very seriously, um, take very seriously your journey as what it is as you as a core of a person, and not just like the flesh and blood.
Well, I look at the spirit journey. I have some experience there, and two things. One, you find that the entities that you encounter seem to correlate with, the stories of, other people's experience, to a point where it seems to be beyond coincidence, right? Um, if we're all encountering these same entities in this realm, what does that say? Especially when there's no expectation of it. If you have no expectation to see something, you see it or experience it. The second thing I wanted to say was I find it interesting that, you see, like the LSD culture, tune in, drop in, drop out, tune on, or whatever that expression was, and the whole Timothy Leary thing and the whole 60s love experience. And even now, almost like you almost see the DMT trip has been popularized. It's almost a pop culture thing now. And
Yeah.
but you juxtapose that in the more ancient tradition where you would experience these journeys within the rubric of like a spiritual ceremony. You'd have a shaman, guides. It was an experience that was quite different than you see now. It wasn't two kids in a dorm room, drunk, you know. Um,
Don't belittle my experience, bro.
how'd I know? Um, so I do think that, like, again, we see this system, this whatever this control structure is, interfering with some of these natural processes because they demonize these more traditional experiences,
That
traditionalize the pagan and traditionalize the indigenous experiences. They give us these dogmatic religions, based around, certain traditions, call it Judeo Christianity or whatever you want.
some old guy sitting on a cloud shaking his fist at people who won't chop their foreskins in tribute to show that they're part of the club. Um, but I don't want to hate too much on it, just because I know that there's a lot of people who don't even understand really what it is that the book says, and so that's a big
Yeah.
reason why I like this type of conversation, is because it's, in my opinion, Christianity in particular is the most watered down belief, is the most watered down, because it has inconsistencies throughout, and on every level of it there is deception. Even when you get down to the very bottom of it, this was a journey that I took years ago, um, where I was really studying the scripture heavily, and was trying to find like the right laws, and the things that I needed to follow, and I was getting rid of my leavening bread at the right times and all that stuff. And I really, nobody can tell me that I didn't really believe it. There's nobody on earth that can tell me that. I was very, very passionate about it, and I was passionate about it because I was being tormented by something. I don't know what that something was exactly. We can speculate, but I was being tormented by something supernatural, and I thought that the only ways that I could deal with it was through God, and that this was my only avenue. So I really needed to figure it out, and I needed to save my soul. And through figuring it out and doing the journey, you just find out that not only is the English translations trash, that the Trinity doctrine is trash, doctrines of men entirely, but then the original Messiah idea of Yeshua, even that is a deception in that Yeshua, and people will try to meet me with contention here, but again, I invite you to the panel. Yeshua does preach things that are not in the Torah, and unless you got some really good justification for that, if you believe in the book, if you believe in the set, and you want to be logical about it, then you cannot believe in the New Testament at all. You cannot believe in the Messiah of Yeshua, because he disqualified himself as being even a prophet. He disqualified himself. There are tons of examples where he's even, because this is important. The Old Testament does not preach that manifestation is real at all. It preaches, well, actually, I can't say that because it says magic is real, right? And you can take that to be manifestation, but it says it's evil, right? Just the art of doing it is evil, even though you're doing it constantly. So it's just a really, really weak and watered down belief. You have Yeshua basically preaching manifestation later on, so it's like you can't. So then you have to get rid of that, and now you're stuck with the Israelite cult that just wants you to literally do exactly what they do and give tribute to the priests. And if you can't give tribute to the priests, then you're screwed, right? I see nothing in the Old Testament whatsoever, nothing in the Torah that says that you get a pass just because your temple is destroyed on your sin offering. I don't see anything like that. You can assume that, but that's a man's doctrine. And wouldn't you expect, if God doesn't change and the book is real, right? If you're going to believe it, then wouldn't you expect the God to expect you to get off your ass and build the new temple? Absolutely. Well, we can't build the new temple because it has to be made with this certain dirt or something. I don't know the story. But it's like, it's just not consistent, and it weakens your ability to even manifest anything at all. And then what you do manifest is a thought form given to you from a higher up, that had it written long before you were even a thought.
You know what I find interesting is that much like the dogmatic globe believers, is the ones that are dogmatic Bible believers seem to be some of the most unschooled on the Bible. Just like these globe believers seem to be very unschooled on their model or unlearned, which is interesting because you find these people defending an idea that they know very, very little about.
Especially one that was created by the Catholics,
Yeah, let's listen to those guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been running into that. I was on a panel not long ago tonight with a young man who's 22, and and he basically fell into Catholicism, and I was at a point where, how can you get? It's like I said, it's very similar to the globe believers, because you realize very quickly that there's usually a fundamental lack of logic and reasoning, and critical thought. Just a lot of indoctrination, cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, obvious logical fallacies. You see it over and over again. And I see that. I see, we've been presented with this separation between science and quote unquote religion, whatever that is. To me, when you get down to the fundamentals of this realm and you really examine this place for what it is, there really is no separation between quote unquote science and the spiritual world. There's only separation when you look through their lens, their paradigm. The separation is between their religions that they give you and then the science that they give you, which to me are both deceptions.
What's crazy is how much data there is to indicate that this is a spiritual place, a spiritual realm. When you start looking at like near-death experience data, and have you guys ever heard of Dr. William Bankston?
Dude, it's funny. I was talking about the near-death experience when I came in here, man, when you tapped out. That's so
Yeah.
funny you say that. Listen, guys, I got to run, though. It was a pleasure. I'll come back again, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Z. By the way, Nuba said you had a beautifully paced voice, so you can accept that compliment. We appreciate you shouting you out. And Sean Alk, thanks for the $5 tip. We really appreciate that as well. Thank you for supporting the show. But you were talking about
Dr. William Bankston. He's some professor at some college, and someone did energy healing on him, and it worked. And so he started doing scientific experiments on energy healing. But he starts talking about how there's a preponderance of evidence that energy healing is true. And then you look at near death experience and all that evidence and stuff, but people still just won't even look at it. Like if it's not on TV, they won't believe it.
right. Yeah, if it doesn't come from a mainstream source with the big name scientific paper published by the people who enjoy smelling their own farts, then unfortunately it's not going to be accepted by the ignorant masses, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dr. Bankston, he started some of the experiments he did were really cool. He was giving cancer to rats, and he was doing energy healing on them and getting rid of the cancer. But he started doing energy healing on their water bowls, on their water bottles, and that got rid of their cancers. And the mice that had the cancer, when he got rid of it with the energy healing, they were immune to that cancer. They couldn't get that cancer anymore.
That's crazy. It brings me back to almost the thought that like maybe we really are just water, and like maybe we're only conscious because the water inside us is conscious. It's like I'm not really Skylar. I'm the water, and it's just water memory and everything. Like Dr. Emoto was showing, the water has memory, but that's a whole nother that's a whole nother rabbit hole. As
Yeah,
far as
that was the reason why I started blessing my food and drink, was from the Emoto work and from Dr. William Bankston. I kind of just combined those two and just started,
are you on
blessing my food and drink.
are you on what is it, Discord or Telegram?
No, I'm not. But I've been thinking about it.
Well, you need to hit me up on there with that info, because I'll probably do a whole show on the energy healing. I think that stuff is huge. Esoteric medicine is buried by Rockefeller funded pharmacology. Again, not medical advice. Go to your doctor if you need medical advice. If you break your arm, go to the hospital. Don't pray over it. But I will say that there are some holistic remedies that are overlooked. And especially in these days, I would be looking less towards chemical based medicines, and more towards natural cleanses, natural healings, whenever possible.
It's one of those things, if you don't take full responsibility for your health, you're gonna suffer. Just like if you don't take full responsibility for your education, or you don't take full responsibility for your income, you know.
That's why I say the God of this world is actually this is where the Christians and I would actually agree. The God of this world is definitely will. It's will. It's whatever you want to do, and you will suffer the consequences for your own actions, whatever they may be. The righteous of the righteous is on themselves and whatnot. So definitely take your health seriously. Otherwise, when you get older, it's a delayed effect, right? So it's a little bit harder. You don't get the immediate satisfaction from eating something like a salad, but nonetheless, it's still really important that you don't kill yourself.
Do you ever do fresh green smoothies?
Oh yeah, those are delicious.
That's the way to go, man. Just throw it all into a blender and pound it.
Well, my problem is, and I'm gonna get so much hate for this, is that I ruined the health smoothies by adding a fuckload of sugar.
Oh no.
I know, it's terrible.
I just use banana, man. I just use banana.
I have problems with some vices, but I'm only human after all.
Yeah. It's part of the condition, Dude, it's hard to do right all the time. Like, to be like a really like healthy spiritual person, you have to give up on everything that you like. Like most people just can't go completely raw, but I can't. I mean, I've done it a few times. It's a really good cleanse. Have you ever gone raw for like a month?
No, I haven't.
It's worth doing once in your life.
I bet you feel incredible after doing that.
Dude, after 4 or 5 days, every wrinkle on my face was gone. My tendons felt like I never worked a day in my life. My brain was firing off so fast, and I had this glow and this aura about me. It was like literally 4, 5, 6 days. It was like less than a week. I was like a completely different person.
You get that from fasting for 3 days.
Yeah, which I feel like I need to do. I think everyone needs to fast at least in the summer once or twice.
Oh yeah, it's actually so I find it easiest to fast in the wintertime, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like it's natural, right? Like you can't find food in the winter usually,
Yeah, yeah.
in nature. So it just makes sense that that would be the time that you'd be fasting, and then when springtime comes and you're all the harvest and stuff, or sorry, when fall comes, that's when you're really stuffing down fall and spring.
Yeah. Do you eat meat?
Oh yeah, I eat a lot of meat.
Yeah, me too.
I went vegetarian for like 8 months, but I felt so terrible after doing that I had to eat a chicken
Yeah,
sandwich.
I've gone vegetarian like 4, 5, 6. I don't know. I've done it so many times in my life, and it's so hard to keep it up. But now I'm getting into hunting. I got a hunting bow and everything, and I'm living in Utah now, and I have a buddy who's gonna take me out and show me how to hunt.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I think that's something everybody needs to do. That's some shadow work. That's really important. Go out, hunt at least once in your life. That way you
Yeah.
can experience what that's like. And as messed up as it may seem, right? Like, you're taking the life of another animal. And, like, yes, I know. It's awful. But you need to know what that's like. You need to
Yeah.
have, like you said earlier, like people always want to downplay the negative. They always want to try to get rid of it. And you can't. You have to learn how to incorporate it properly, responsibly, and that way, everything has its proper place, and you continue this journey of learning, which is, in my opinion, the ultimate purpose of us being here is to learn things.
Yeah, I think hunting is a like a spiritual thing. Like when I look at it, what you're doing, because you do have like a psychic connection with that animal, you know, like it does kind of stay with you.
Oh yeah, that's something you'll remember forever. Um, that's awful to think about though. Get me off track. I'm an animal lover. I have a zoo at my house. I have 3 cats, 3 dogs.
Pit
Um,
bulls?
no, I have one's a mix, and then I have 2 Pomeranians because my
Okay.
parents used to breed Yippie Pomeranians, so I ended up with 2 of them. They're adorable, but dang, they never shut up.
Yeah, I love animals too. I have a bully right now, and we have him on a raw diet. He only eats like raw meat and just crushes bones, man. It's so scary to watch that guy eat. But we haven't had fleas in like 6 or 7 years since we changed his diet.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah, it's pretty
interesting.
cool.
That's really
And his
interesting.
fur is super soft, and he doesn't smell like a dog anymore. He doesn't smell like a dog at all. He smells clean all the time.
Oh wow. Man, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I've often thought that the dog food it obviously has problems. We didn't even do dry dog food until World War II. We did it as a response to shortages in the meat industry, so they started getting the byproducts and turning it into dog food, and then we just never stopped doing that.
Isn't that funny how forced markets will take a life on their own? Like we won't do something for X amount of time forever, and then we have this forced market, and then it becomes a part of the economy, and then it just never goes away.
Yeah, we're obviously creatures of habit, so once something gets introduced, it's like, well, here it is. So it's like we still have all these drugs outlawed, but we still have alcohol.
Dude, alcohol's the worst. I quit drinking like 9 years ago, and I feel great.
Oh,
You know,
congratulations, man. That's a big
and I
one.
wasn't like too much of an alcoholic. I was living in a college town, and I was playing in a bunch of metal bands. So I drank too much, but it was like par for the course. You know what I mean?
What metal bands were you in?
Obolos, Bastard Son, um, God, butyric fermentation, Nash, you with like a silent G, like gnashing teeth,
Nice.
and Diagaltus. God, I know I'm leaving someone out. Yeah, I've been in a few.
One of my buddies that was in the chat, Austin Baxter, was in a metal band. It was pretty awesome. I can't remember the name of it. They had some hilariously grotesque names though.
Oh, sweet. Was it like a gore grind then?
It was oh man, I don't know what the genre is. It was awful. It was like shock metal.
Okay.
It was awful.
Lots of blast beats?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Lots of blast.
I love blast beats. That's what I do best.
Were you the I'm sorry, were you the drummer or
Well, in Obolos Obolos, I play guitar and I wrote the whole songs. In Butyric Fermentation, I did vocals and guitar. Bastard Son, I played bass and backup vocals. And then Nash was the band. Nash and Diagaltis were the ones I played drums in.
sick? I just got my acoustic guitar back running. I got new strings and stuff for it, so pretty
Oh,
excited.
nice. I think it's great playing music for people, like, and I think it's one of those things that really helps you get good at magic, oddly enough.
Go figure, right?
Just having that, huh?
Go figure.
Yeah, I think they go hand in hand.
Well, it's
Art and magic.
vibration work, That's what you're doing. Everything's vibration, everything's sound. So if you can play a sound, right, you obviously are doing all the steps of manifestation. You're thinking it, you're creating it in the physical, and sometimes all in the moment. Like that's why improv music is so magical sometimes. It sounds really good. Like, oh my goodness, and you'll never hear it again, right? It's gone once they play it.
Yeah, on guitar, that's something I can do. I can just like bang out a song without even trying. I can like bang out a song just right there in real time. But I forget a lot of them from doing that.
Oh yeah.
You got to wonder like how many songs are lost forever, how many bands, how many like scripts for movies.
Right.
I've
forgotten tons of what probably $1 million ideas. Who knows?
Yeah, and then you see it on TV because someone else did it.
Right. Oh man. I'm gonna give it's 12:40 now. I'm gonna give people probably 10 more minutes to jump on the call. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down. And I think we've had some pretty good conversations. I appreciate everybody who did come on. Just in case, let me do a. Oh, here's Andrew. Awesome. Never mind then. Andrew B, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, your audio's perfect.
Audio's good.
Your view view is sick in the back. That's what skyline is that this time?
It's just a virtual background for whatever. I don't know. I should probably just turn it off. Let me just do that. But yeah, this is a really interesting topic. And by the way, Jaren is in the Rokfin chat right now.
Oh heck yeah, let me go check that out.
So it'd be kind of cool if he joined in.
Absolutely.
To talk about this because he does some really good stuff when it comes to religion, theology. His what's it called, Iconoclasm on Saturday. That's a great show. I always tune in. Tried, discussing it a little bit with him on that show, and it's one of those topics that you can go down the rabbit hole a long, long time with that subject. And I've got a lot of personal experiences with it. Skylar, Jaren, and myself, I think we all have kind of the same viewpoint when it comes to that because we experienced religion at young ages.
Yeah.
And then as we get older, we start to learn that things might not be as we were told.
No. What? I'm just kidding, obviously. Yeah, it's ridiculous, especially, I think it's absolutely ridiculous how in the truther community we can start looking at, all these things with science, with the shape of the earth, and just the layout of everything, but yet when it comes to good old faith, good old what the pastor told me, then all bets are off. That has to be true because it's in a book, right? Even if we took it at 100% face value, still not a good argument.
There's a very famous quote. This is actually going to be part of the trivia questions tomorrow, but it's going to be one of the fun ones for the audience. So no points, but it's an interesting quote by Mark Twain. And he said, and by the way, I love Mark Twain. I think he has some of the most brilliant, quick, shorted, like, phrases ever said. Anyways, it ain't those parts of the Bible that I can't understand that bother me. It's the parts that I do understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once you get through all the at the end of the rabbit hole of all the mistranslations, right? You can give them the credit, right? Yeah, it was mistranslated a whole bunch, and some things are said to be in there that aren't, and some things that are in there that sorry, just said that some things aren't in there that should be, to make it make more sense. But you get through all that, you get to the transliterations, and you still have this obedient cult that literally tells you to murder people who do not bend the knee to your God. When you go into a nation and conquer that nation, give the people the choice to worship their God, your God, or die. And if they choose to worship your God, you don't take them in as as regular citizens. You take them in as like servants. And there's an argument to be made. It's like, well, yeah, you don't trust them all that much, so you're gonna make them as servants and yada yada. And it's like, no, dude, you have an all-powerful God behind you. He's supposed to freaking have your back. Why is he telling you that you have to make these people servants? And what's with this plan? What's with this whole plan of sin and destruction? Like, what a horrible agreement. Why would you make that with somebody as an infinitely intelligent being? Why would you make an agreement? A lot of people don't know this too. Like the agreement that Abraham made, he dashed apart. He split in half 3 separate animals and then walked in between them in a pattern. And the way that ritual, you have to understand the context. If you look at the context of that ritual that was done, basically the agreement is, let whatever happened to these animals happen to me if I break my end of the deal. And that's why it says in the Bible that God is going to dash apart the non-believer like the potter's vessel. Like that's actually that's actually what's supposed to happen if the book is true. The people get brought up from Sheol who weren't the believers, and they get cut in half by this God, and then they get thrown into the fire and are destroyed. So no, you don't burn in forever. You just get destroyed. But still that's fucked up.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's crazy. The whole Abrahamic thing is it's a blood oath. Wow.
Oh, it's 100% a blood oath, and that they try to say that the pagans that sacrifice children and do all these abominations. Like the only abominations I've ever seen, the only like instructions for child sacrifice, animal sacrifice, or anything like that I've ever seen has come from Abrahamic faiths. I've never seen anything from like they say, oh well, the Phoenicians apparently practiced it. Where is the hard evidence for that? All I've ever seen is like we found bone pits, so we think that they were doing the sacrifices. And I'm like, dude, they have explanations for the bone pits that you guys just ignore.
It's one of those things, like every single thing that we think we know about the pagan culture came from the Abrahamic religions because it was all wiped out, and then they wrote the history of it.
100%.
We don't
Which
know what
bone
those
pits
people
are you
were
talking
doing.
about?
The Phoenician.
Okay, I don't know about that.
There's also the Norse. When you get into like what people believe about like the Vikings and stuff, there's a whole bunch of misconceptions on that too. Like the Vikings definitely were conquerors, right? But let's just be real. They weren't doing like mass human sacrifice. They had bone pits, and they were like anybody else. They cooked a lot of meat, and then they threw the bones in a pit. And that's just, they weren't even like, they would find animal bones in with the human bones and stuff. So it's like, how are you? It just makes no sense that they're getting that it's human sacrifice. Well, this person had a stab wound, so it's human sacrifice. Like, how do you know that they didn't get in an altercation and were just stabbed? Like they just literally just say things to fit a narrative. And again, when you look at where the narrative comes from, it comes from the Vatican, it comes from the Catholic Church, it comes from the Jews. They're not the best sources when you're looking at with this kind of information. And again, there's explanations for it too.
Have you guys ever
finding
seen the
piles
Churches of
bones
Skulls?
doesn't
Oh, sorry.
prove anything.
Exactly.
But have you guys ever seen the Churches of Skulls? Like all the skulls underneath all these churches?
Oh,
like thousands and thousands of them.
you're talking about the
Like
Catholic
hundreds of
churches,
thousands.
right?
Huh?
You're talking
Yeah,
about
the
the
Catholic churches, yeah. But they're all over the world, man. They're everywhere. It's not just one church.
Yeah, you can look at the stories of some of the saints, and you'll see that they're horrific. Like one saint was known for like basically marrying a king and then betraying the whole freaking kingdom, and then laying siege to it. It's like ridiculous. Like, you're literally a saint for murdering a whole town.
Yeah.
What the heck?
You know, with the Church of Skulls, when you look at it, you got to wonder, like, what happened to all the meat on those bones? You know, like it's pretty dark when you think about it.
Sorry, I'm just checking the chat for a moment. Nope. Get out of here.
Yeah, but when I was driving home, I was listening to you talking about astral projection and lucid dreaming, and I've had both of those things happen to me. Well, not really astral projection; it's more of like an ESP kind of situation.
Nice.
And a lot of people will, like you were saying, will call that devil work or something like that. And I don't believe in Satan at all. I don't think it's even remotely possible for Satan to exist, because a lot of people like myself will just say, well, if God exists, then why wouldn't God just get rid of Satan? And that's perfectly logical.
Yeah,
But
we'd be fucked.
a lot of people also say God or him or the creator, like as in a singular. But in reality, I don't know if there's one or if there's an infinite amount. So when it comes to people that are actually theological and biblical, or even Jews or Hindus, for example, they all believe in different things. Even the Norse, the Greeks, the Egyptians, they all had different ideas when it came to how many gods there were and what they were for. So it's a really weird concept to consider when people want to argue on behalf of Christianity, because Christianity is not the first religion that ever existed. Hinduism, as far as I know, is the oldest religion. Have you guys ever heard of the Kumbh Mela?
No.
I haven't heard of that.
Okay, well, I mean, I can pull it up and just like share my screen if you want to
Yeah,
show
go
you.
for it. Sounds awesome.
Just give me a moment. So I'll explain it in the meantime. So the Kumbh Mela.
I'm still here. I'm just doing un-YouTube approved activities.
Okay. So I'm not really going to do much except for just sharing images. Okay. I'm not going to play any video or anything, because there's a lot of videos on this. Just a moment. What the hell?
By the way, while you're pulling that up, I will go ahead and shout out the trivia. We're all very, very excited to see Jaren and Zach compete on the Mellow Dome tomorrow. What time is that starting?
Well, that's going to be up to when Jaren finishes his NASA Comedy Hour. And I think he's starting that at 3. That's going to probably go for an hour and a half or so. Hour and a half to 2 hours. So Austin is going to plan on about 5:45, I think, roughly. Unless Jaren gets done a little bit early. We're all going to try and meet a little bit, 15 minutes or so before the show starts. So
I will be in
we'll see.
I will be in the chat as Mama Needs a Dab. logged into my girl's YouTube.
Okay, for some reason, it's not letting me share this. Okay, you just look up Kumbh. So it's Kumbh.
I can't click off the screen or it's gonna mess up the stream.
Well, I guess people are just gonna have to. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's only letting me show 2 tabs.
You can't blue ball us now.
All right, fuck it. I'll just share my entire screen, I suppose. Okay. Is that sharing?
Yep.
Okay. So Kumbh Mela, this happens about every 12 years. This is the largest spiritual gathering that has ever existed and still exists. About 25 to 50 million people show up to this in India, and they migrate from all around. India and Pakistan and different places, anyone that's considered Hindu. And they go into these, there's 4 different locations for this. This is just like an aerial view. Oh, that's not a very good picture. Sorry, I'm using pre-search. Doesn't give me the same kind of options. But anyways, there's a wide variety of people that show up to this. I mean, people that like these naked guys walking around with swords, and people that are like, you have to look it up. Just watch a documentary on this. This is the largest religious gathering that happens. It's huge. Anyways, the Hindus are, as far as I know, Hinduism is the oldest religion. It predates Christianity allegedly by, I think, 3,000, maybe 4,000 years. When I have conversations with my very good buddy who is Hindu, I ask him Hindu questions all the time. And he's actually the one that told me about this. I asked him, what do Hindus think about Jesus Christ? He said they don't. They don't even consider him as an idea. It's just not in their vocabulary when it comes to speaking about theology.
Those poor bastards.
Oh, so they're all going to hell. Yeah.
We need to get over there with some swords and some Bibles.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there's millions and millions of people that show up to this.
I feel
but it doesn't happen all the time.
I feel so uncultured not knowing about it now.
So is there a focal point for the whole ceremony?
Not really. It's just spiritual for some reason. I think they say it has something to do with how the celestial sky is working at the time, like how the wandering stars are lining up, or there's something to do with it, like Vedic astronomy, something like that.
That's what I thought when you said 12 years. I just thought it had something to do with the zodiac.
Yeah, it's something like that. And I really want to go. That would be a fucking blast. I mean, if you, yeah, you have to look it up. There's tons of documentaries about it.
It'd definitely be a cool place to microdose.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I could add it.
Marijuana is completely legal in India.
That's going to be part of the international version of the Troubling Travels series I'm going to be launching here soon. Basically, where we take Call's About to End. I'll go ahead and probably start one more. And then we'll call it after that one. But yeah, everybody stay tuned. We'll go ahead and get the show going again here in just a moment. Look for the links. Great conversations to be had by all. Everybody, of course, can still hear me because we're on the stream. But Andrew and Brian can no longer. Let's go ahead and get this going one more time. Instantly. Start that instant meeting right now. Perfect. And we're back. All right. Meeting link is copied. Let's get it. Everybody can see what everybody's typing. Oh, no. Just kidding. Boom. Austin Baxter. What's up, my friend? That is true. Jordan Peterson's wife did save her life by eating only meat. Let me post that one more time just in case. I can't remember if I did it yet already. All right. There's that. And here's for the Rokfin. Boom. Jaren, you said you had all the answers, man. Where you at? We need you. Buddhists and Latter-day Saints take the top 2 interesting afterlife tales. They are pretty good. All right. Let's get back. All right, folks. We're having an awesome conversation so far. I had to turn off my camera. I'll turn it back off here in just a moment because I'm still doing unapproved YouTube activities. So sorry, guys, but it is what it is. But learned some really cool things here. I do feel really uncultured not knowing about that big meeting. I should have figured that there was something like that. I know the Indian culture has all kinds of things like that. Um, yeah, pretty awesome. Get everybody together on the same page, like in high energy, high spirits, wanting the same things, and you can see some cool things happen. That's for sure.
Am I back?
You are back.
Okay, cool.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, that's one of those things you're gonna have to just check out on your own, just to watch. I mean, there's a lot of documentaries on it. It's like Burning Man mixed with like Carnival mixed with I don't know. It's weird. There's all kinds of strange things that happen there.
I do have a specific question for you because I haven't gotten your opinion on this yet. It
Sure.
what And I know that you said that we can go infinitely down the rabbit hole, and I totally get that because again, how you gonna prove any of the stuff that we're talking about, right? At very best, we could only prove it to yourself personally, which for all intents and purposes may be another part of the test of reality, right? Which is why you can't prove it to anybody else. That you could only prove it to yourself, which is why you can't take anybody else on faith. You can only listen to yourself. Um, what do you think, as far as like the purpose for humanity, right? Like, what do you think we're here to do? Do you think that astral projection and lucid dreaming has anything to do with it, or do you think that we're here more for something else, or are we just here just to exist?
Well, that's a deep question. Well, okay. Yeah, lucid dreaming, even dreaming at all, is part of our subconscious that occurs. And I think a lot of neurologists and psychologists can probably explain it with chemical and biological explanations. But when you get down into the metaphysical, like deeper aspect of why is it happening and how is it happening, I think that there's no doubt whatsoever, in my opinion, that it's part of how the creation happened. It's part of us. It's part of everything. So I don't know. I'm not really sure if I can answer that properly. It's, okay, let me give you a little example here. Okay. I was house sitting at my parents' house for about a week when they were on vacation. And I was sitting there on the computer just fucking off. This was about 10 years ago. And an old girlfriend of mine from across the country, she was in Virginia. Um, she called me up. And before she called me, she called on the house phone, by the way, not my cell phone. So I'm not even sure how she got that phone number, but she told me later on it was through public records. Anyways, she called me up at the exact time that I was sitting there next to the cell phone. I'm sorry, to the house phone. And I knew instantly. I was like, oh my God, is that Amy calling me? And it was. It was fucking weird. I hadn't talked to her in 4 years. So there's something weird that happens with like ESP, dreaming. There's the ether. I think that's a lot of what it is the ether. It's sort of like how a mother can know that her baby is in danger. Have you ever heard the stories about that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
And like how twins that are separated knows when one of their twin is also in danger. I've heard countless stories about that. So there's something weird that's going on, and atheists will just deny it entirely. Like, oh man, I'm not even giving him credit. There's an atheist that I fucking despise a lot. He's very popular on YouTube. I'm not going to give him credit though. But there is something very strange that happens within reality, and I'm not going to call it the Mandela effect or anything like that. But there are very esoteric concepts that people need to at least look into, even if they don't agree with it. Religion is one of those things that I have learned is esoteric, but it's not for me because I don't think it's legitimate. Creation and spirituality is great, but when it goes into religion, it's fear-based mind control. Religion, I just had a conversation with a coworker yesterday, and he was saying, "Oh, if you don't believe in the Bible, you're going to burn in hell." I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay, well, I don't believe in hell, so there goes that one."
A lot of good that'll do me.
Yeah. So all religions, even Hinduism, I'm not sure if Jews believe in hell. I think they have a word for it, but
It's
a lot of religions.
so Jews believe in Sheol, which is just the great sleep. They believe that you go to sleep. Your body dies, but you're basically it's the same as being asleep. So you're there until the judgment day when God calls everybody up from the ground and then destroys all the non-believers and then brings down the city of Jerusalem, the holy city, down from the heavens to be placed here on earth with 12 gates that have the 12 names of Israel. Then they're all going to have their 144,000 slaves or whatever it is, according to the Talmud, um, so on and so forth.
I think it's 40,000.
Gotcha.
I
Bearsworth,
don't know.
welcome to
You know a lot more about that than me. And Bearsworth just joined in, so I'm going to go ahead and mute and let him do his thing.
No worries. Bearsworth, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going fantastic, man. I don't. You actually have not joined my show before, so I appreciate you coming on. I'm eager to see what you have to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, yeah, I've been listening. You're pretty new on the scene, Traveling Tribune, and yeah, man, I've been digging your stuff for a while, and yeah, it's cool.
Man, we appreciate that. What are your thoughts, opinions, feelings on anything that we're just discussing?
Um, yeah, I don't know. You guys are. I didn't think I was gonna get accepted this quick,
You're
but
on, man.
yeah,
Welcome to the show.
yeah,
You're the
I'm
star.
on. That's awesome.
All right, I'll start you
Cool.
off with a question then.
Okay.
Are you an atheist?
No, I'm not. I believe in a creator for sure, but and I'm also an Om Benjamin guy because of the name, the Bearsworth thing, the bear thing. But I find it kind of disturbing, like, or not disturbing, but like Owen Benjamin and Jim Bob's whole thing this last, even today, and like, yeah, the I'm on your guys' side. We're like the like religion where it's like where you actually go to a church is kind of crazy, like where you have to go to a priest and stuff, um is, yeah, indoctrination almost. I don't know, in my opinion, just kind of weighing the two sides. um but for sure there's a creator in my opinion, but I'm truthfully on, yeah, like Owen's side and that side where it's like, you're in direct communication with your own, with the creator. There doesn't have to be somebody in between to interpret it and all this stuff. And but I don't know, looking into all these debates, these Christianity debates and stuff lately has been kind of crazy. It's like too much. But anyways,
Which brand of Christianity, Trinitarianism is the more believable bullshit?
yeah, man, it just gets too much. And like, so I've been following Jim Bob for quite a while, and I really like him as a guy, and I love him. But following those debates and stuff, they just get so cocky and so like, oh, we're so much better, and like I've listened to some of these debates where it's just like crazy, where it's just like they're acting like, yeah, everyone's going to hell. So it's like, if you have that belief, like 99% of people in the world are going to go to hell. Like, how could that be reality? Like,
That's a
why would God create this, and you're the only freaking 99% of people are going to go to hell, and everybody else, and you're the 1% that's going to get to go to heaven because you are the right you're the right believers. Like, it just seems so crazy to me. But these people believe that, and it's just like, how can you believe that? It's insane. Yeah.
Well, that goes back to the it goes back to the accusation that Globers accuse flat earthers of having, that we want to be the special boy. Well, that's kind of it, right? They want to be the special boy that has the special information, that's going to get them, the treasure, if you will, whatever that may be, the thing that they value. And so, it's like an ego trip, right? It turns into this ego trip of, well, if you don't listen and believe exactly as I believe, then you're going to be destroyed. Because I'm pretty sure that Jim Bob doesn't believe in like the biblical hell, right? Or does he? I haven't followed him too much, to be quite fair. I've only heard a little
I
bit of it
don't.
from Jaren.
Yeah, I don't know. And like him attacking all these people and like Alpha Vedic and like everyone, like I like following everybody. Like, there's so much gravy out there to look into. Like, man, to go into one doctrine and just be like, put the blinders on and this is it. It's just so crazy to me.
Why
Like
aren't we?
Alpha Vedic.
I'd be like, why aren't we trying to find the unifying theory of all the religions, right? Like trying to find the similarities in the stories to see what can we find that actually might be true. A good example of that
Yeah.
is like the Egyptian and I can't remember what it was. I think it might be Greek mythos have very similar stories for the sun and moon god, or the sun and darkness in one case. So, for example, Ra, the story of Ra, Set, and Apep, or Apophis. Ra is the sun, obviously, and Set is darkness, was the original one for darkness, and then later turned into famine and storms. But if you take it the original, so you have darkness and the sun are brothers, and every single night they travel in the solar boat to defeat and are attacked by the great serpent Apep, which is supposed to represent entropy. Just the idea of things breaking down. This is a metaphor to tell the story of why the sun and the night sky don't ever diminish. They never diminish, right? It's always the same sun. It's always the same night sky. Besides the stars that change, the darkness and the sun are eternal. So this is a story to describe that. Well, there's another story in the Greek mythos. Apollo, obviously, is the sun god there, and his sister is Artemis, which is the moon goddess. And there's a story where they are battling a serpent god as well. Only in their version of the story, Apollo actually succeeds in striking down the serpent. So it's almost like, if you look at the history of it, if we assume correctly that the Egyptians came first, that they're older than the Greeks, and the Greeks came after, then you can kind of see like an evolution of the story, right? Like you have the story of the sun having to battle this serpent, and then in the next version of the story with the next people, you have the sun god actually conquering the serpent. And so I just think things like that are pretty cool. There's a lot of similarities like that across different religions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to a Stanford professor who was trying to discuss what chaos theory is. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of that before. And he went into a big, long lecture. Anyways, at the beginning of his lecture, he was talking about how people back in like the 1500s, for example, they didn't travel very far, usually about 15 miles away from where they were born. That was like kind of like the maximum limit because of how transportation worked. It was horseback and buggies and things like that. So when you start talking about how religions are, it's going to be based around those kind of areas. Jaren actually brought this up quite a while ago. It made a lot of sense to me. And he actually goes to the Middle East and shows you where Jerusalem is. That's where like the three major religions are. And there's the what's that wall? What's it called? The Weaving Wall or something like that?
I love the weaving wall.
Or whatever it's called. Yeah. And then he just draws like a big circle around the area, like 40, 50 miles away from it. It's like, oh, this is where everything in the world happened. Everyone else is going to hell. That's a very interesting point.
That's funny. You know, another thing that people don't, a lot of people don't know is like that wall that you're talking about. You know that, you know, I'm talking about the wall that all the Jews get around, and it looks like they're humping it. They do that
Yeah.
like once a year.
Well, it's not just Jews. It's Jews, Muslims, and Christians. They all
Got,
do it.
gotcha.
But
So
Jews are the ones that like, yeah, they look like they're humping it, yeah, or sucking a dick on a wall or something.
yeah, the reason why they're doing that, and if it looks sexual, it actually is meant to. They are literally humping the wall. That is what it is. And the reason why they're doing it is because this is actually a fuck you, and they don't realize it. This is like them being mocked by the elite. And when I said earlier about watered down beliefs that people don't realize, so the wall that they're all around, they think that it's holy. I can't remember the exact reason why they think that it's holy, but it can be proven that reason that it doesn't compute. Basically, I don't have the information right. I sound like I'm butchering it. I am. But basically, the wall that they're around is it's another temple that got built afterwards, and it's basically like Satan worship, and it's they're doing the hump because it's supposed to be the male. It's like weird when you get into some realms of occultism. They do a lot of like sexual references with their magic, so it's like they're doing the masculine affirmation, which is supposed to be the I am, which is the actual manifestation. Anything female is like learning, right? You're learning, you're in the process of becoming. But when you're like, I am doing this, I am doing that, this is happening, that's manifestation. That's the masculine principle. And so they're humping the wall to represent the masculine principle for the feminine. Basically, I can't remember exactly what it is. But yeah, they're basically doing a form of sexual ritual, and it's pretty funny that a lot of people don't know that.
I did not know that was sexual. I thought that was just because they were weird.
No, they won't say that it's sexual, but when you look into the reason why it is and like how it's set up, it's the elites laughing at them. It's totally funny. They're not even worshiping what they think they're worshiping at all. That's like a couple hundred miles away or something.
Yeah, also in
Funny.
Jerusalem, I saw a documentary about this. It was actually kind of a comedy. It's called An Idiot Abroad. If you guys have never seen that before. Anyways, you'll have to watch it. It's fucking hilarious. This guy is just sent around the world to go and look at different things, and he's kind of a smartass and kind of a dumbass at the same time. So he goes to Jerusalem, and I didn't actually know this before I saw it. There is an actual place where Jesus is alleged to be born, and you can go there. You can kiss it, you can touch it, but you can't do anything else.
That's one hell of a tourist cash cow, I bet.
Yeah, I have no idea if it costs money. I just saw it in a documentary.
Oh, I'm sure
The
it would
comedy
have to.
documentary.
It would have to.
Yeah.
1 second, guys. I'm doing unimproved activities. Well, don't give me the dead air time. Jeez.
Yeah, I was also calling, I don't know, to talk. I don't know. You were touching on stuff with like Zetetic Warrior, which I was hoping I wanted to call, and I was gonna call in when he was on, but it didn't work out. But man, I like Zetetic Warrior. He's cool, man. But yeah, you guys were touching on all sorts of stuff, but also like, I don't know, like demonic possessions and all sorts of shit, and like, but even like that. I don't know what I'm been a truther for like, I don't know, 7-8 years, but I don't know, it's just weird, man. My life has gone like totally downhill in the last like 4 years, and I totally feel like I don't know, knowing about this stuff, like maybe there is like some attachment on me or something, or and like I drink too much too, and I don't know, it's just crazy. But
You ever watch
yeah,
Rick and Morty?
what's that?
Have you ever
Oh
seen
yeah.
your failures are your own, old man? Don't look for excuses for why it's not happening
Exactly.
for you, like a demon's attacking you. Just accept that You're just not doing enough to realize your responsibility. Accept
Yeah.
it, and then just start doing enough. You know, I know it's easier said than done, of course. I don't mean to diminish your struggle, but
No,
at
no,
the end of the
definitely,
day,
man. And
that's
it's like it's mindset.
yeah.
Like yeah. There's so many things where there's so many truths in so many different places. Like your mindset and
People don't.
yeah, like
I wonder. This is gonna sound hilarious. Like I'm literally setting myself up to be nailed to the cross by the community. But the guy who literally the guy who wrote the religion for Satanism that we know of now, Anton LaVey, he's in an interview and he's like, some say you should draw protection circles around you when you're summoning demons. You'll never be powerful that way. It makes a joke. But basically the point of it is like and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about negativity earlier in the show, about negativity being like a really, really powerful teacher, right? Like that's its function, is to educate us. So when, people say things like you have to do the inner work, you have to befriend your shadow, you have to befriend the demons, right? Have you ever considered, if even if there was something like that was coming to you and like attaching itself to you and like fucking with you a bit, have you ever considered that maybe it's just trying to teach you something about yourself? Maybe there's something fucked up about you that you need to learn so that you can, be a more effective person or be a more moral person. I've always kind of seen, again, because I see these spirits as coming from a place that is unable to lie. I say that from, from personal experience. I can't imagine being able to lie in a place where my intention is purely displayed instantaneously upon every thought. So, yeah, I don't get the idea that these things are like trying to be dishonest or anything like that. I get the idea that the occult literature about it is true in that the process of transformation is a bitch. It's painful and it to
Well,
shine the
Skylar,
light.
have you ever watched the Eric Dubay video? It's called "I Am That I Am."
I have not.
It's a really great one,
I
and
mean,
it makes a lot of sense when it comes to understanding if any of us were God and we were immortal and could know everything all the time, it would get bored everything would be boring. So how would you escape from that if you were God? And that would be to split yourself among an infinite number of possibilities across our flat Earth and also in the sky.
The
And then
Brahma story.
bingo, there you go. Yeah, this goes back into like Hinduism and Buddhism and stuff, which are the two religions I respect the most, even though I don't agree with them. Anyways, the concept of who we are and what we are is absolute. We are part of the creation. There's no way to escape it. The problem I have with a lot of people that are in religions is that they just read a book and then they follow it, but they haven't read the other books. Like, if you read all the books and know them really, really well, and then want to stick to one, I respect that a lot more. But I have friends that are hardcore into Christianity, and I said, "Do you know what the Talmud is?" Nope. The Quran? Have you read that? Nope. And then they just they default to Christianity and the Bible because that's what they were told. It's like Mormons. That's how I was raised. I was raised in Mormonism. It was fucking terrible.
Your
Anyways, I'll shut up.
your religion that you were grown up with was started by a high-ranking Mason, which I thought was pretty interesting. I appreciate you, Nuba, for pointing me in the direction of the deep dive. The John Smith, that is the same religion, right? John Smith is Mormonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's good. Doesn't in Mormonism, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they also believe, like, don't they believe that you can transcend this reality and basically become a god and get your own little reality to be a god of? You're muted.
Oops. Yeah, I'm not an expert with it. very, very far out of that. So I'm very, very rusty on the information. But they have temples all around where I'm at. There's a really, really big one in Hayward, California. And you're supposed to wear, if you're Mormon, for certain days, you're supposed to wear your, what do they call them? Your magic underpants or something like that?
The magic underpants. The secret magic underpants.
Well, I think they call them like temple garments or something like that, but they're basically underwear.
That's just a reminder. I asked a Mormon about it before, and she got kind of offended. And I was like, I'm just curious. And she was like, well, it's really just like a reminder thing. Just to, remind us to keep our mind on God. And I'm like, in your underpants? All right, I guess. Different strokes for different folks, I suppose. I don't really,
Yeah.
I don't really get it, but
Yeah, I don't get this whole thing like what like I was I was raised as atheist. Like my parents were totally like you're worm food and
oof.
stuff. And it's only been in the last like maybe 3-4 years because of Owen Benjamin too that I've even looked into any theism. And it just makes way more sense. Like Owen Benjamin's belief kind of like yeah, just I don't know. It's so crazy that all these people and like yeah, following yeah. I don't mean to bring it back to that, but Jim Bob and them, like oh man, like and listening to their discussions and like the Ortho Bros, like it is crazy. Like it's just like they believe that like everyone, or I don't know what they believe. I can't say what they believe, but it seems like they think that they're the right ones and that's it. And this is and it just seems so crazy to me that they can believe that.
Everybody thinks
I
they're
don't
the
know.
right one. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, to think that everybody else is yeah, and like all of the sheep, I don't know, like yeah, 99% of people. So that means what 99% of people are going to hell. That's what you believe, like, and then why would God do that? Just make this place for 99% of everyone to fucking go to or wherever, whatever it is.
well, I
I
make
don't
the.
just
I mean, again, setting myself up to be nailed to the cross, right? For lack of better terminology, but I put it this way, and it's like there's basically a split on what could be, right? The two different, and I won't say the Eastern philosophy. I'll leave them out of it, but I'm talking about as far as like Western thought goes on religion. There is like the idea that Christianity or Abrahamic faith is completely right and everything else is completely wrong and evil. Can't forget the evil part. But then
yeah.
there is the counter idea that the Abrahamic faiths are evil because they simply demonize everything. Um, and that and most of the other religions actually do kind of like share like a similar idea that we're like a part of God, and things of that nature. I see very few religions talk about like I think actually only one talks about like the chakras and stuff, and that's Hinduism. Which is one of the reasons why Hinduism gets my respect, because they actually give you a little bit of spiritual tools. The only thing is that I don't agree. Same with Andrew B. I don't agree with Hinduism because it teaches you that you have to use your tools in very, very specific and limited ways, and that to me and they try to limit that with these gods, right? There's like these gods will punish you if you do the wrong thing. So it's no different
And
than Christianity
it
in
it
that regard.
it's so funny too when you think about it and when you start talking about this stuff, how everything's so connected to like health and spirituality, and then it's driven into like government and religion shouldn't be together, and all this shit that's driven into you from society when like everything is totally connected. Like religion and government are connected, religion and health are connected, religion or theology, I guess, and like it's all fucking connected, like deeply intertwined, and science and all the shit, and it's all intertwined. And we're taught that it's all fucking separate, it's all fucking bullshit. Yes. And yeah, it's fucking so interesting once you start going down these rabbit holes that they're all just intertwined so fucking, yeah, so much.
So, do either of you believe in like a type of any type of apocalypse? Like, do you think the world's gonna end, or have like some crazy change anytime in the near future or in the distant future, or do you think all that's hogwash?
I've been a prepper for like since I became a conspiracy. That's where I started. I started prepping because I thought I was total, yeah, conspiracy theorist, and I've still got all this food in my basement. I've still got all this shit,
My
or
Patriot
and
supply.
I've got like four. Yeah, I do. I probably have my Patriot supply in my basement. I got freezers. I got guns. I got all the stuff. And now this last year, I've finally kind of put this behind me and been like, yeah, man, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
I'll
You
tell
don't
you.
have to prep. Like it's good to have it. It's kind of smart to have it, but at the same time, man, yeah, I
I'll,
don't think
I'll,
it's necessary. Like yeah, there's a path that we're on, and it's gonna happen no matter what happens.
I'll tell you a really funny
And
story on
yeah,
speaking of like the prepping food. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I was a kid. I was still living in Michigan, and I was at my grandparents' house. I was hanging out with the neighbors, and we built this fort. And come lunchtime, we were trying to figure out what it is that we were gonna eat. He said, "Oh, my dad's got this like army food." And I was like, "Army food? What is that?" He's like, "Oh, you gotta check it out. It's delicious." He breaks out this like it's prepper food, right? I'm looking back. This is what it is. I don't know any better at the time. And for like a whole month of staying there, we end up eating through like tons of tons of this prepper food. And
I did that with my kids this summer. Every time we went camping, we would take a bunch of my prepper food and we'd cook it on we'd go start our own fire. And yeah, I got two kids, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and a girl and a boy. But anyways, yeah. And this summer, that was like our fun thing to do. We'd go for a hike and go start our own fire and cook this prepper food on the fire. Yeah, every time we went camping this summer, it was awesome.
I just
Yeah,
feel bad because it's like, dang, I was eating this guy's rations. They didn't even know it.
yeah. It's awesome.
Absolutely. So no apocalypse in your opinion, Bearsworth. What about you, Andrew B? Probably not there at the moment. That's all right. Yeah, I tend to think that the whole idea of like the world ending is BS. Overall, I mean, not that natural disasters don't happen; they of course do, but I mean, the world will still be here. People will still be here. There may be a little less of us, but we will definitely still be here. And the idea of an apocalypse is really just to keep people from making moves. You know, when they see things happening, so it's like, oh, we just let evil be evil because Jesus is coming to rescue us anyway. So there's really no point. It's a really self-defeating um, ideology, and it makes it impossible to manifest a better world. In fact, it makes it, yeah, just you're manifesting the end of it by simply, believing that that's what's going to happen, and then trying to convince others that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, man, no, totally. And like, I'm still coming to this because I'm still on that wagon, kind of, truthfully. And yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, man. And yeah, always question everything in your mind, like the way you're thinking. I don't know, it's so fucked up. Because yeah, I still have been, and like you look at everything, and you look at all the media and all the stuff that's going on, and but it is too much, man. You got to unplug from the internet sometimes, I think, and from all this stuff when you get into it. And yeah, I got to do that because it gets retarded. It gets too retarded. Paying attention to all this stuff, man, and forgetting about the life that's in front of you. Yeah,
I see there's quite a bit of commentary going on in the chat. I just like to encourage anybody, if you do have a difference of opinion, we kind of got just a little bit of an echo chamber. If you think that we're full of shit, or and that we're probably going to hell or something like that, I'm definitely open minded. Feel free to come on into the panel. I just reposted the link, and we can have a conversation. And we can even have an intellectual conversation about biblical scripture as well, if you are smart enough to see through the mistranslations in the English versions. So we can go ahead and skip all that and get right to the good stuff. And I can teach you how Yeshua definitely cannot be the Messiah. And then once you realize that there is no Messiah and that you've blasphemed and that you're fucked, I don't know, you may have second thoughts. I know I did. But again, my personal opinion, for whatever that's worth, I think that there's no way that book can be true, or else most people were fucked. And if that's the way it is, then that's a terrible design. That's a terrible plan. What kind of loving God would create a plan like that? He sets the rules, folks. So he certainly wouldn't set the rules to be what they are. He certainly could have just created us to not even have the ability to rebel, right? And it's like, oh, that wouldn't be real love, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I would argue that this isn't real love either. So, again, feel free to jump on in and chat it out. Otherwise, this call probably has like 30 more minutes in it or so. We'll probably call it after that. It's been a great time.
Yeah, the thing I want to add, that if any Christian is wanting to call in, don't be afraid. You know, Skyler's not going to bite.
I can't. I'm all the way over here.
The problem I've always found with people that are huge fundamentalists in regards to Christianity is that they don't want to argue the point because they have such a strong belief in hell. It's not the reward, it's the penalty of religion. And that is something that people will consistently argue with me about. Well, if you want to have something to talk about, then talk about it. But as far as I found, everyone in religion, especially Christians, are so fearful of the penalty that they'll do anything in order to not have that penalty. And that means following a book that they can't prove when it was written or who wrote it.
I've never seen a Christian be able to beat a Jew in a debate.
Really? Huh?
Not once.
Shout out to Jaron, though, because he did a very long, I'm not really sure if it's a debate, more of a discussion with Sean from Kingdom in Context. I think he did that like a year ago, roughly. And I watched that like 3 times, just trying to get Sean's perspective on it and Jaron's perspective on it. So if people haven't seen that, I would suggest, going back and watching it, because it shows the perspective of how Jaron and I basically share the same values and concerns and ideology when it comes to religion. And Sean is very hardcore on the Bible side. So it's very interesting to see how people are going to discuss that kind of conversation. And, the dialogue that happens back and forth.
I actually, I do have an aspect of Jaron's theology that I do disagree with. And again, I guess this kind of makes me one of the black sheep in the community, but I just disagree with the idea that God is all good. I just disagree with it. I think that God is all things, period, and that it's good and evil. But, again, this is my personal opinion.
Do you know what deism is?
Deism?
Yeah.
Isn't that the idea that... Shoot, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I don't want to say something dumb.
If I was going to give myself a label, and I don't want to, I would probably say I'm a deist, because I know that we're here, we were created, and that's it. Beyond that, I'm not going to make any speculations.
Fair enough. I love to speculate, though. I will make speculations, but I won't claim that they're true. One thing I will say is that regardless of one thing that people I don't think about too much is that regardless if we're created or not, that may have no bearing on what happens to us after we die. May have absolutely no bearing whatsoever. Does that like make sense?
It does, yeah. And to add to it, if anyone's listening that is actually part of any one of the 5 major religions, call in. That's what your idea was, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the idea of the show. That was the hope, the prayer, the wish. I know you guys are out there. I know you're listening. Just
It's
chuckling
your
in their
first time doing this, so it might
chuck,
take a little bit.
chuckling in their
Yeah,
false ignorance.
it's it's funny. There's too many Ortho Bros shows on tonight. Um, the Crucible had like a 5-hour one, and then Jim Bob was on a few different streams, and
Hey man,
um, yeah,
I had the right idea, but I guess it was just too much of the right idea. Everybody's doing it. Everybody and their mama. Whatever. That's fine. I wanted to dive on into it, give people my 2 cents, try to get some 2 cents from everybody else, and I think it's been awesome. Were either of you here in the very beginning of the stream?
I wasn't. I missed the beginning.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
driving, but yeah.
No worries. They did a
I was.
I showed one example from the 16 crucified saviors, Serapis, or Serapis, however you want to pronounce it. I think he's I think he's really funny because it's like literally a serpent, and Christians hate serpents. So it's just, yeah, you've been worshiping a serpent deity and probably haven't realized it. But because actually Jesus is a composite of like multiple different deities across multiple different cultures, designed, from the Roman court, obviously, to unify all of the people so that they could have world domination. So
Yeah. Okay. So if I think we all have kind of similar beliefs of like our theism, just in my mind, if I had to bet on it. So what would you guys, if you don't mind me asking, I don't know, I'm just drunk in my shed talking to you guys, but like what you got, like in my mind, I think kind of like we're all like almost like a drop in the ocean, or like an all we're all a beam of light that might come back to and re-singulate with the light at one point after we die, that we just come back to the light kind of, and we combine with that ocean just like a drop that's been separate for whatever this time frame is.
I want to pull
and,
enough water to me
and
to
that,
become my own ocean.
what's that?
I said, if that's the case, I want to pull enough water to me to become my own ocean, or I'm going to pull enough fire to me to become my own burning sun. That way I don't have to rejoin and forfeit my memory card.
Yeah, or like what, because like we all are a piece of God. I don't know, is what I like. We all have one little tiny spark of God in us, or I don't know. Would you guys? What is your kind of belief? If you had to put your own belief, your own spin on it, what would your own kind of thing
I,
be?
I mean, yeah, I agree that we do have that spark of God, but I think it's a fallacy to assume that you can't gain more, or that you can't maintain your spark. Again, I think everybody assumes that you have to rejoin, and I think that's because we're literally taught that in every religion. And I think that that's probably bullshit. That they don't want us to know that we actually can exercise a muscle to, or a spiritual muscle, if you will, to actually be able to maintain a consciousness throughout many different lifetimes, to be able to do something beyond the one life, right? There's only so much you can do with one life, but we are sparks of the infinite. So we should be able, at least in theory, to experience the infinite.
But shouldn't we want to go back to the light? Like, I don't know, but and then you got like Howdy McCluskey, Howdy being like, "Don't go to the light, don't fucking go to the light." Fucking, I don't know.
If you step into
I
the
don't.
light, you step into the matrix and things like that.
Yeah, and then you're put back in the game, and then you're fucking
Yeah,
back.
nobody
Yeah, you're
fucking.
back.
That's why it says like, why would you even want to do that? Why wouldn't you just form your own path and go that way?
Yeah.
That's the trick, right? Everything is
But
designed to get you to
what is
suspend.
that path? Like that's like an unknown path, like your own path, like to say fuck you,
Wouldn't
light,
you rather
and I'm
that?
gonna go, and then you're like your own little flame, just fucking somewhere.
Yeah,
Like
wouldn't
I
you
don't know.
rather? Wouldn't you rather instead of again? It's the same kind of philosophy that we're taking with real life, right? I've heard Jaron say it beautifully. I'd rather get to the end of my life and every belief that I have be absolutely wrong, but I came to it myself, as opposed to having every belief be 100% right, but it was all given to me and I had no critical thought behind it.
Yeah, totally, man. I'm totally on
So
that board, man.
it's the
Like,
same thing with the religion and faith. If everybody's telling me that, hey, you either go to the light or don't go to this light, go to this other light, I'm probably just gonna do my own thing. I tend to be a little bit of a rebel in that sense, and I think that everybody's misled by powers that are trying to fuck me over. So I'm just gonna do my own thing, right? That's why I probably wouldn't go to the light. I'd probably would go my own way and just see what the heck happens with it. And if that leads to my destruction, then so be it. But I know another thing is that's a really, really freaking likely is that if I go back to the light, and that is the source of all things, then I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna be the source of all things. I'm gonna lose everything that I am to be everything that is. You can't be everything that is and be everything that you are and maintain that, right? So that's what I mean by like you lose the memory card. And you can say, well, wouldn't you
yeah,
want to go back to the light at some point? For what? What is the actual benefit to doing that?
Yeah, that would be terrible if you had the same memory for, you know, eternity.
I think that's
You'd
a
have to
psyop.
erase it at some point and restart.
I think that's a psyop. I think that you would always want to build progress if you could, unless you really fucked up somewhere.
I
yeah.
mean,
But
unless you get to heaven and memory is completely different. Like we think in 3-dimensional, but maybe our memory is like 25th dimensional or something just crazy like that. That would probably be the only way to do it, but it would still be different than what we are now. So
So it'd be
that's the
like imagine it like like it is a video game, right? You have the memory of every different game that you played, but obviously the characters that you play don't have all the different memories, right? And you kind of get to immerse yourself in each character. Is that kind of what you mean by like the memory being
well,
different?
sort of. It's just like there's a lot of concepts when it comes to heaven and hell. It's like, oh, if you're in hell forever, eventually it doesn't matter how painful it is, you're going to get used to it. If you're in heaven forever, it doesn't matter, it's going to get painful. It's going to get boring. You'll
But
get used to it.
well, now you understand.
So
Now you kind of get to where I think the actual like reason why reality is the way it is, why it has to have the positive and the negative. It represents itself in the frequency, which goes up and down, right? And it's to keep things fresh, because, like you said, things would get boring. So it's like it's like, yeah, we're not all powerful. We have some a semblance of control, some a semblance of manifestation, but ultimately, we are slaves to the causal powers, which are the things in the realm higher than this, which is again a combination of intent and emotion.
yeah, intent is very, very important to understand, recognize, and practice. Because I've done the rice water experiment twice. I know you were talking about that a little bit earlier with Z. Man, I was wanting to talk to Z, but he hopped off like right when I was getting home.
yeah,
By the way,
that's
Z, if you're still listening, I fucking love when he gets angry. That's fucking awesome.
That's funny.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he's pretty entertaining too. I'd definitely give him that.
yeah. But sometimes they have the fights they have on on Paul Enslaved and
That's too
all that
much.
shit gets a little bit fucking retarded, man. Like,
It's
man, some of the fights they're having on there, I just gotta turn it off and walk away. Like, it's like, are you guys seriously
well, I
fighting
just
on the internet about this? Like, I can see having conversations like this where it's like we're just having a conversation, like cool conversations, but they're having like these arguments and like battles and like fucking bitching other people out, and it's like, holy fuck, man.
well,
Oh my god.
I like Paul for his legal stuff, but I just find his when he goes into the relationship stuff to be kind of boring. Just because not to toot my own horn, but like I consider
Yeah,
myself a bit of
and
a
it's not to,
psychiatrist
and it's not
myself.
to attack anybody. Like it's cool. Who's ever into whoever, whatever. It's cool. But I don't know, man. It seems just kind of crazy, man. All that infighting and shit, man. It's like
Well,
fucking
he's figured
crazy.
out. Well, don't read too much into it, right? Because I mean, let's just be real. The drama brings numbers, and you kind of figure out a thing that it's easy to do. It's easy to start fights. It's easy to criticize, and people
Yeah,
like it. So if that's the case, then why not do it? There's a space in the marketplace for it
yeah.
for sure. Let me think here.
Yeah, drama is one of those things that is always very, very popular. I mean, look at Jerry Springer, Oprah, the Dr. Phil show. Like,
Man, that's totally how I see the Paul enslaved
Oh
whole
yeah,
stuff. It's like Jerry Springer truth or Jerry Springer. It's fucking crazy.
they're funny for sure. Um, so we talked about I think the last thing to talk about also before we're probably going to have run out of time talking about this would be the actual nature of God, the nature of the creator. One thing that all three of us have in common is that we agree in a creator or a creative force, either way. So my question to both of you would be, my question to the panel is, what do you think the nature of God is?
I do think you asked that a little bit in a different way earlier, but
Did I?
what I think is that God is everything. It's beyond our comprehension to be able to explain. It's not within our language. The neurons in our brain cannot understand it, and it's it's everything, everywhere, all the time, and that's about as far as I can explain it.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to try and comprehend it. Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
Uncomprehendable final answer. All right. I think that's those are both pretty good answers. I think that the reason why especially Andrew the way you worded that's really good because the thing is that and again my philosophy goes back to that we're all in the mind, we're all in the dream of God right now. So everything is literally God. Everywhere all the time. What is language? Language is humanity's attempt to communicate reality. Reality is God. So, language, because it's only a communicator, is going to be another step further away. So, you're never going to be able to fully communicate God because God is reality, and reality can only be communicated so far. There's always going to be some things that we don't understand. So I completely agree with that sentiment. Um, I do. Sound just got quiet for a second. I mean, my air just turned off. I do kind of give just a little bit of idea towards. Sorry, messing with my volume on my headset and didn't even realize it. I do give credence to the idea that God has, um, you know, kind of like I won't say dual personality, but again, like you said, God is all things, and that means that God has the yin and the yang. So there's going to be the aspects that are really, really positive. At least seems positive on its face, right? The loving side, and then there is the other side that is the educator, that is the um, disciplinarian and so it kind of takes
That
you through.
that's such a good way to put it, man. And like instead of even saying evil or like shitty times or like, man, I've lived like the last 3 years. My life has been so shitty and so gay.
I'm sorry to hear
But
that, man.
but really, man, it's like been an education. It's like, yeah, it's a total education. It's like a total rework and rethink of your whole life, and it's actually a positive, even though it's a negative. It's so fucked up how it's like, okay,
Here's
yeah,
where
like
are you
we
Christian? Do you consider yourself Christian?
uh I wouldn't consider myself Christian. Like, no, I wouldn't. But
Okay.
like, I believe in God. I believe like there's probably Jesus. I believe. I believe. I'm a believer. But like the word Christian has such a stereotype towards it. Like with the church, like the church. I can say fuck the church, fuck the Pope, fuck any organized religion. But to believe, I believe. I believe in something. I believe in God. I believe possibly Jesus. Yeah, Jesus was probably true. Yeah, and that's as far as I would take it. But
Okay.
anyways,
I think Skylar would probably love to hear more from you the next time, but we've only got 10 minutes left, so
yeah,
Oh yeah, well, cram it in, guys. 10 minutes is quite a bit.
yeah. I don't know.
I was
I
just
don't know where I was going.
Oh dang. Well, I can't help you then. I was just checking the chat because I seen somebody saying is like, it's good when people are begging to speak. I'm like, people are begging to speak. Here's the link, guys. Come on, come on in. Beg no more. I will let you in. Um, again, the whole point is to have a nice, diverse panel. So I do appreciate everybody who has tuned in so far. Just to throw this in real quick before we conversate just a bit more. Everybody who supported the show, everybody who has showed up to watch, hit the like button, share it out. The more people see this kind of information, the more people we can hopefully get in for the next time. Just like the True Earth debates, I'm going to be doing this type of panel weekly. So hopefully we can get some different perspectives in and have a real good conversation. But with that,
Hey,
go ahead and take it away.
hey, Traveling. Any advice? I think it's probably a bunch of truthers' dream, and it's one of mine. Like to do the same thing you're doing. Um, yeah, man. Like to do like a YouTube show or something like that. And I don't know. Any advice, man? Because you're doing it. You're freaking. You got the microphone. You got the yeah, man.
I would say, um, get your equipment right, ASAP.
Yeah.
That's like the most important thing. But other than that, I would say just do it. You know how to research. You know what's good information and what's not, hopefully. And if you don't, everybody else will, and they'll correct you for sure. And I would say Rahu and Ketu experience. Nice. I would say have fun with it. Don't stress out too much. Just
that's
relax.
my Hindu buddy gave that to me. It's my newest book that I'm starting to read.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things about religion too. I think a lot of people forget is that a lot of the religions have looked at the sky for a long, long time and used those as a reference in order to explain stories about history. And the zodiacs, for example, there's an entire field of study called astrology. So it's something that people have to never forget. And books like, the Rahu Ketu experience, my virtual background's fucking that one up, I think. Anyways, it's worth reading.
Yeah, you thought you were gonna trip me up with that with that uh Sanskrit
No,
question.
no, you got
But
that one right.
I know that's what I happen to have some expertise in that. That was my friend, one of my friends that was in the chat earlier actually ran a really big um Instagram and a pretty big Discord server called the Comedic Order of the Black Sun, where they pretty much they did a play on the Order of the Golden Dawn, and they did it for like Egyptian mysticism, and they just did a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of articles on like the different deities, different celestial patterns, um, and Sanskrit words and things like that. So I happen to know a little bit about that.
It's so fucking crazy, man. About I don't even say the Earth is flat to anyone, but it's so fucking crazy that anybody can even argue against like the idea of it, because like I don't know, it's so fucking crazy. And I argue to my like friends and family, and I talk to them about it, and they think I'm so fucking crazy. But like
You have to be careful, man.
every single fucking aspect is like proves our point. And it's not to say that it's flat. I don't say it's flat. It's not a flat earth. I don't know what the fuck it is. Who knows what the fuck it is? I don't know what it is, but it's not what they're fucking telling us. And like on every single fucking aspect, if you look into every single one, it's like gravity, fucking physics, fucking every single fucking fact that you look into, if you look into it, like proves that it's like not what they tell us.
Hey, going on top of what you're saying right now, because you are a little bit more into the Jesus side than I am. David Weiss on the Flat Earth app actually just put out like a 1.5 hour and a half or something like that long video of another pastor that's coming out talking about biblical flat Earth. So
Nice.
if you're into that, check it out. Yeah, he does an entire sermon on it.
Yeah, it's cool. Anyways, Traveling Tribune, man, thank you so much for hosting me.
Where are you at, man?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, okay.
He's in a shed somewhere.
I'm in Canada in some fucking shed.
All right. Well, hey, man, it's been really great talking with you tonight.
You guys too, man. Awesome.
And tomorrow we are doing the new trivia for charity on the Melodome. We do have one particular person on screen right now that was the first winner.
I wonder who that could be.
I wonder who that could be. Yes, Traveling Tribune himself was. So check out the next one, because he's going to be battling against. This is all for charity. It's all for fun. I wrote all the questions. He's going to be battling against the winner.
It might be for fun.
I don't know. We're trying to raise as much money as we can.
I gotta get this ego boost. Sagittarius through and through. I love to be the center of attention, and nothing would elate me more than defeating Jaren or Zach in Truth or Trivia.
That would be incredible if you did.
It would be incredible. Like, I wouldn't believe it. Like, somebody was like,
you'd have a hard on for a month.
For a whole month, dude. I wouldn't stop talking about it. My show would probably go down the toilet because that's all I'd talk about.
I don't think we have very much longer, right? Like 3 minutes?
No, we don't even have to go to the time, to be honest. I mean, that was just the limit of it. But if you guys are cool, we can go ahead and head on out. It's no big deal. I just know that with this particular topic, we can literally talk infinitely about it. It's never ending. So
it doesn't end, man. Let's talk about giants, Nephilim, like whatever. Fuck, it's fucking amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, do you think giants have giant consciousnesses too?
How big do you think a giant's dick is? Like the smallest giant's dick is?
Oh, like, seriously. If you're like, because if you've ever been in a lucid dream, then you'll know, like, you're just kind of floating around, right? So, like, are giants, like, giant things floating around? Like, I wonder how they see it. Surely they wouldn't shrink themselves down for a dream, right? They dream about being little people. We sometimes dream about being giants. They sometimes dream about being little people.
This is like some Alice in Wonderland, Jack and the Beanstalk kind of stuff.
Crazy. Well, this is what you get. It's 2 o'clock in the morning over here in my time. 2 friendly dabs deep, and having a good
Me too.
time with a whole great crowd and 2 great folks in the panel. So I definitely appreciate it.
Well, there was one other guy, and Z, right?
Yeah, Z and Ryan. I'm surprised he didn't hop back on. Lord Byron, not Ryan. Byron.
There
Lord
you go.
Byron. Good guess all around. Great conversation.
All right, Trouble and Tribune, thank you very much for having me on
Peace, guys.
tonight. I will bid you all a wonderful morning.
Absolutely. Good morning, Andrew B.
Thanks, Traveling Tribute. Peace out, man.
Bearsworth, thanks
You're
again,
fucking
man.
cool.
We appreciate it.
Love you, man.
Feel free to check in
peace.
anytime. Hit me up on Discord or Telegram. We'll chat.
Okay. Peace.
Absolutely. The call is about to end. I'll go ahead and do a final call out for the folks, the lovely audience. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get this back. And we are back. Man, what a fun time that was, right? Now that I can, let me go ahead and check everything thoroughly here. All right, we're going to start over on the Rokfin, guys. We appreciate you so much. We got Nuba. Hold on, I want to read this. Joseph Smith basically was exactly what Jaron Whitsitt, yourself, etc. saw problems in all religions, then combined the best of all. Interesting. Basically, you become gods. Okay. Nuba's blowing it up over here. I'm going to have to go through this another time. Danny Smith. Support what you like, disregard what you don't. My beliefs are not tangent with yours, so I cannot support you, love you, but going to that's fine, Danny. We appreciate you. No Jesus bomb, then now. Oh goodness, I'm butchering these. All right. Mischief Brew. Dogs don't smell unless you're a moron. Nice. All right. Sean Alknuba, Adrian Quintina, Andrew B. We appreciate all you guys over on the Rokfin side. Let's check out. Let us check out the YouTube side. Folks, things still blown up over here. Michael Smith, Mark Basket. Lots of interesting stuff in here, man. God. It's my weakness is that now I want to just sit here and read the comments. Big Fine Sailing, they're having trouble getting on. Oh, is that really the problem? Link is supposedly not good. Oh, son of a bitch. What's the cheat code? Asking for a code. There shouldn't have been a code. Why did they have, they had no problems getting on and you guys had problems? Man, I'm so sorry. Well, listen, I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate you guys wanting to come on. We'll get it right next time. This is not the last time that we're doing this open panel. You can pretty much expect to see it again at 10:30 next time, the same time next week. Unless something crazy comes up. But yeah, you should be able to catch it. I do apologize. I think it's alcohol and truth. Be totally wrong with it. All good. King Shin, appreciate you, my friend. Jonathan Kampala, appreciate you. We had Jaronism earlier. We appreciate you as well. Who else? Agni Organics. Salted Cedar. Trying to scroll faster. My goodness. All right, guys. If I missed anybody, I apologize in advance. Apologize not in advance, but after the fact, whatever. It is what it is. I appreciate you guys nonetheless. Angela Baby Carson. Can't forget you. Jack Scoville. Setneg. Man, I need to have somebody like in the thing on the chat to let me know when people are having trouble. Then I can just relaunch the call and try again. But all right. Can't see nothing. Let me go ahead and get back over, folks. That is going to go ahead and conclude another exciting episode in the books. The first of many true fate debate, the true fate of mankind. Will we go to a blissful, cloudy, pearly gated paradise to be with a loving and all knowing God who fought and defeated the root of evil, sin, and Satan? Or are we simply able to manifest our own reality upon death? Or will we simply forget everything and reincarnate? Who knows what is going to happen? We are going to be discussing it further next time. We definitely appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get a song loaded. And folks, we always have to remember, of course, that one of our greatest enemies is the illusion of knowledge. So with that in mind, we will continue to test the truth. Let's go ahead and pull up. Where the heck are you at? Boom. All right, folks. Until next time. Taking its sweet time, of course. I always butcher the outro. All right, folks. Peace.